Hello? Oh, okay. I think I'm streaming now. One moment. Hello? Okay. All right. For some reason, my mic was muted. I just downloaded the driver. I'm checking if this runs well. It's been a while since I played this, much less streamed it. But I have it on another solid state drive, is the reason why I haven't played it. And I hate switching between it because this game hasn't saved in the cache at all whenever I reconnect the the solid state drive. Um, because I don't have enough slots in my drive slot, my external drive slots. I need to buy another one with more slots in it so I could just keep this shit in there. Which I guess, I could do that later after I finish streaming. I think I'll just go do that. I'm tired of just switching out of these drives and nothing saves. I'm just gonna get a bigger slot and hopefully maybe I can get like a. I need another solid state drive to be honest. But the memory is getting so expensive now because of the dumb AI race. They're charging more price for everything that has to do with memory. I thought people just thought it was just RAM, but no, it's the drives themselves as well. They need that driver space. I mean, they need that server space and all the memory they can get. They're hoarding all the memory resources and putting them in bullshit chips and for their AI models and well yeah semiconductors as well, which is not really. Oh yeah, it's involved. Semiconductor architecture is involved in AI and how it works. Like a lot of it's not even just having a lot of juice. A lot of like the way AI works and how fast it processes, like really largely based on the architecture. And this is in U.S. knows this, and they're trying to have a race against China, which is really speeding up the process of having speedy architecture, and they've already beat them in the AI game right now. And the U.S. is slowly trying to catch up. Right? This is the power of a planned economy. This is the type of shit you can do. You can get shit done way quicker than selfish capitalist states who mainly care about keeping progress out of the hands of the peasants. Thus, your entire infrastructure suffers for that. But they don't care about the infrastructure of the public. They care about their own wealth. Like, things would never progress if we just left it up to the fucking selfish capitalist. Like, people that got this idea from, like, Reaganomics. That, oh, yeah, if we didn't have the wealthy billionaires, we wouldn't have all this progress. And I'm like, no. The wealthy billionaires are why shit happened so late. Like, we would have had shit way earlier if not for the fucking wealthy billionaires. Like, you think personal computers would have took as long as they did if not for the wealthy, you know, wealthy patent holders keeping it out of the people's hands? We would have had that shit like the same decade computers were invented. Like, and we would have worked out smaller models like in no time. It wouldn't have taken like a fucking decade or decades to do that. And then people would have had personal computers too. It wouldn't have just been excluded to only these labs and shit, you know, but these accounting firms and shit. Banks had shit like that. The wealthy ones, for accounting and also predicting apocalypses that they caused themselves. and they use computer models to like try to fool the peasants. Like they did that in the 1970s IBM. They produced like this bullshit computer model. Well, this is when the world's gonna end if we don't do blah 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 blah. We gotta take over these other countries because they're not ran by white people. Okay, that's the trick. They need to be ran by us, racist Nazis, or else the world's gonna end. So we have to take over the resources and tell them how to do their economy. All right? They gotta accept the dollar. They can't have their own currency. You know, they gotta be slaves to ours, or else the world's gonna end, guys. Like, fuck off. Like, that's the entire history of these like Western democracies, fake democracy. It's always been a fake democracy. Like democracy is a lie. Even the ones they talk about, like they talk about democracy was created by the Greeks, but even that Greek democracy was rosy because like they never really solved any corruption with their fake democracy. It was still the bourgeois running shit, even when you know they're the so-called inventors of democracy. Only cosmetically. Real democracy happened in, you know, basically more socialized societies. They were more melanated. Like, people don't realize this, but America was way more socialized before the Pilgrims came over. They had systems set up by like the likes of the Iroquois League, and that was, you know, that was way more socialist than whatever the fuck you want to call this system. I mean, it's clearly capitalist, but you know, capitalist is not even saying enough. I mean, capitalism is evil, but people don't realize that. You need to like be more descriptive what the fuck this system is than just saying that to get people to understand what the hell they live in. They think capitalism means, oh, we just sell stuff and we can make a profit by privatizing everything. They don't understand what that means. They don't understand what's behind the processes and how they're not. That doesn't mean that they're involved in the. I mean, that doesn't mean that they're like the beneficiaries of that system. It means like a top 1% group are the real benefactors of that setup, and you just get the illusion of that. Oh, okay, there's an invisible enemy because everything is not loaded yet. I think it's part of the drive that I just downloaded. Okay, I need to tab out. I need to use a fan. The fan's the best weapon for parrying. Right now, anyway. Oh, he's supposed to be invisible. They're supposed to be invisible. That's the problem, I think. I might be wrong on that. Might be cope. Because everything hasn't loaded yet. I also have a horse. I'm trying to find the horse. I need to summon the horse, but I forgot how to do it. You know, I should probably use my controller for this. This country's, I mean, you can just look. Our country is pretty evil, though. I mean, look at what we just did to Venezuela. I don't know how anybody can defend our country and call it anything but what it is. It is a white colonial kleptocracy. That's what it is. You can't just call it capitalism because people are not gonna. You don't emphasize that white colonial kleptocracy if you just say capitalism, even though that's what capitalism essentially is. But you need to be more descriptive. This is a white supremacist kleptocracy. They think they can just go into any brown or black country and go like attack them and kidnap their fucking president, their leaders, if not assassinate them outright. I have some powers I can use. I need to use them. I need to use the controller. I think the controller was more my speed because I haven't got the hang of the. I originally played this with controller more than I did the keyboard. I need to learn the keyboard off stream, I guess. 'Cause I don't. It's hard to counter on keyboard right now. I'll learn. I can eventually learn. I can't pause either. That whole kidnapping Maduro is it's a terrorist action. I mean, well, of course it's a terrorist. I mean, it's meant to like demoralize the people of Venezuela and make them think, well, yeah, well, the U.S. is totally gonna, and we can't do anything. They took our leader now, so we might as well just give up and let the U.S. come in here and let the corporations run everything now. But no, Venezuela, the Venezuelan people are smarter than that. The U.S. is not actually running Venezuela just because they kidnapped Maduro. He's one guy. Like, the U.S. kidnaps leaders and murders them in a, you know, mainly to demoralize the people in the administration of the countries that they do that to. But now, the vice president is in charge now. They've not handed over any power to the U.S. So what the U.S. is essentially going to have to do is they're going to have to fight Venezuelans. And it's going to, like, at this, looking at the fucking numbers, it's going to end up being worse than Vietnam if they try to actually take over that country by force. Right? If the fucking administration is not handing over power, that's what they're looking at. A worse Vietnam, where they will definitely lose. Shit, they lost to Cuba. Venezuela's bigger than Cuba. Venezuela has more people who will fight. Yeah, they're not. That's going to look very good for the U.S. if they really want to do a ground fight. And then they got support from Russia and China. They're going to back them up. They will back them up if they're going to take the entire country by force. That's not going to work. Like, they got air defense missiles, man, from Russia. They will use them in a real fucking fight. They try to send the fucking fighters over here. They're going to get shot out of the air like broken birds, dude. That's what's going to happen. So this is just desperation right now. The U.S. is doing desperation acts to try to like bluff and scare people into handing over power. Like, I'm glad the Venezuelans are not falling for it right now. You don't believe anything on any of our Western media because they lie all day about the situation on the ground in countries they're trying to regime change. Or want to portray as evil. As the citizens really loved that we came there and, you know, kidnapped their democratically elected president. Like they think if the leaders are gone, that they can just, people are just gonna fold. Like, no, it's not like people folded because Hugo Chavez died or anything. No, we just had other leaders come in and continue the work, and the people never gave up. The administration didn't give up. They've actually improved things since Hugo. Although I think they should have improved more. Okay, what's my other weapon? I got another weapon. Fuck this. They've also improved, like, I mean, they should have done more improvement on, like, you know, watchdogging the fucking corporate influences in the country. Like, you got a lot of fucking CIA plants in Venezuela, and Venezuela should have been doing more crackdown on those motherfuckers. It's so obvious who they are too. I think Maduro was a bit too soft on them for my taste. Like, you hear the opposite in the U.S. Oh, he's cracking down on all these people, all these propaganda wings and NGOs, but he sadly wasn't enough. I said this before this fucking kidnapping happened. Maduro needs to be cracking down way more than he does. This is the type of shit that's gonna happen. And I've been saying like Venezuela also needs to get like some, not even just like air defense missiles, but some straight up nukes. They need to be more like North Korea. All the countries that have like fucking, you know, missiles like that, you know, arms like that, the U.S. is too afraid to fuck with. Like, Libya made the biggest mistake giving up their arms. I don't know why they trusted these fucking white Nazis from the West. Oh yeah, we're gonna do right by you if you just give up your arms. We definitely won't take over your country and assassinate you or anything. We won't bring back slavery or anything. You know, we respect black freedom, black liberation. Like, I mean, you already saw us, like assassinate Lumumba and all. You know, all these black leaders from all these global South countries. We've killed them all. You know, trust us. Give up your arms, people. That's the wise choice. No, that's the fucking capitulating Nazi option. You capitulate to Nazis, they're just gonna take advantage. That's all that happens. They're not gonna stop it. They're not gonna stop the lynching. They're not gonna stop the Holocaust. They are literally gassing people in Sudan right now. The West is funding that. I just saw some videos of like a bunch of black people in Sudan getting gassed. Literal Holocaust shit. I don't want to hear anybody tell me that they ain't Holocaust us black folks in our fucking communities and societies. That's going on right now in the modern day. Look at that shit. That's straight up Holocaust shit. They ain't gonna make no movie about that though. They're not gonna fucking. Nobody in the West is talking about it. No Western media is talking about it. Especially not that corporate media. They're never gonna talk about that. The corporate media is ran by fucking literal Nazis, literal Zeo Nazis, as well, who are just another Nazi disguise. It's another disguise that Nazis like to use to, shield themselves, even though they're not even from the Levant in any way. Never lived in the Levant. They are like, Wuthering Waves popped up? No, I'm not playing Wuthering Waves. Go away. I must have accidentally pressed a key, a hot key. I need to call my horse. Let me get the controller. I was just fighting them until I had time to plug in my controller. You also get like parkour mobility that helps you travel around the world easier too. It's like super fast. I've seen videos of it, but I've not unlocked those abilities yet. I got a taste of it though from one of these challenges I did. Since I'm talking about Venezuela, there was something I wanted to actually listen to. Man, Maduro, he's not dead yet. He's being paraded around in New York right as we speak, apparently. There's the videos of him like riding in a paddy wagon with the door open. Like, I don't know what the fuck that's about. It's pretty sadistic though. It's the demoralized people who are watching though, who are pro Maduro, pro Venezuela. He's in New York right now, right after the inauguration of that motherfucker Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York. It's pretty ironic too that motherfucker said Maduro's a criminal, so he's not going to come to his rescue. He said that early, and I was criticizing people. I was criticizing his ass for that and pointing out, motherfucker, you guys need to be suspicious of Mamdani. He said the fucking Maduro's a fucking tyrant, and the Cubans are a fucking tyrant. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You sound like a Fed. You don't sound like you're pro-Palestine at all when you say that. You're gonna say that fucking Maduro and Cuba are fucking tyrants when they've been pro-Palestine since fucking inception? Are you seeing what Maduro said about Palestinians? He's like their best fucking friend. He's more of a friend of them than you are, Mamdani. I don't fucking trust that fucking creation. He's some fucking focus group creation. He's just so phony. He's the biggest obvious industry plant. You got to be like the whitest, sour creamest motherfucker to fall for that obvious op. I don't know, or just a Nazi. You know, you're just a Nazi. You know what he's about already, but you like that he's fooling some people who've never seen this show before. They don't, you know, they don't recognize the industry plant when they see one. Sadly. Okay, I can call my horse. What the fuck? Wait a minute. No, that's not right. How do you call the horse? Did I get a charge attack on that sword's really good. How do I call my horse? Oh, that's right. I do it this way. I got the controller in now, so that's how you do it. Okay. The horse is not that much faster, but it's faster than me. So we're going to use it. Okay, I'm going to listen to something now that I got my horse. 1 second. It is about the Venezuela situation. It pretty much echoes exactly my sentiments, so that's why I'm even going to play it. Here's the whole game, basically, in a bit of a summary, of course. More info is obviously available with, you know, hours worth, but this is the good summary of what's going on.
If you turn on the television today, you will see the same looping footage. You will see helicopters, you will see special forces, you will see the dramatic extraction of a Latin American leader. The media is calling it a victory for democracy. They are calling it a restoration of order. They are analyzing the tactical brilliance of the raid and the political fallout in Washington. But as always, they are showing you the circus so you do not look at the bank vault. What happened in Venezuela today was not a political operation. It was not about human rights. It was not even really about Nicolás Maduro. It was a margin call. To understand why the United States just took the extreme risk of launching a military operation in South America, you do not need to look at the polls or the Constitution. You need to look at a much more boring, much more terrifying chart. The United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve. For the last 3 years, the United States has been draining its emergency oil tanks to artificially lower the price of gas. They have been selling the family silver to pay the rent. The reserve is now at its lowest level since the 1980s. At the same time, the petrodollar, the system that forces the world to buy oil in US currency, is on life support. Saudi Arabia has refused to renew its exclusive agreement. The BRICS nations are trading energy in yuan and local currencies.
No.
The exorbitant privilege of the dollar is...
This is important to point out. This is why I've been suspicious of people who've been like going after Saudi Arabia now, criticizing Saudi Arabia now, because it's not organic. I've noticed it's not organic in any real way, because they weren't this hard on Saudi Arabia before they, especially before they joined. Before they joined BRICS, and have been really, you know, listening to the BRICS partners. People don't know that. Yeah. Saudi Arabia in the Western Empire have been having a bit of a falling out. That's because they've been listening to the BRICS partners like China and Russia. And, you know, South Africa as well. They've been convincing them to, you know, they stopped them from doing that Yemen genocide that was going on. They were doing a starvation campaign against Yemen. Well, BRICS members came in and told them to stop doing that shit. That's why they stopped. But of course, the U.S. got mad, and you know they started drone striking and shit, and trying to retaliate against Yemenis. But you know, the Yemenis got their own drones from the BRICS members, and retaliated back, and other arms from BRICS members to fend off against that bullshit. So then the U.S. backed off. I'm like, God damn, we're out fucking gunned here. And even Trump had to compliment Yemen for their their fucking their prowess in defending themselves. Just to not look like he fucking lost, like a sore baby loser. Even though he was sore, but he had to say that to look like, oh man, they're just so tough, guys. No, you're just very weak, and your aims are not good. Like nobody wants to support your fucking aims. The U.S. colonial aims are not good in that region, and Saudi Arabia is not helping you anymore. They'd rather help Yemen than fight them at this point. Thanks to BRICS members. So and Saudi Arabia has stopped selling their oil in dollars in the petrodollar. They don't obligate countries to buy oil from them through the dollar anymore. That was the agreement that U.S. had with Saudi Arabia. That's why they were their best friends. That's why they would do military actions for the U.S., such as the campaign they were doing against Yemen, which they've stopped now. I gotta check something if I'm streaming on. Am I streaming on YouTube? I need to make sure. Just right quick. I wanted to stream on YouTube. I might be streaming on Twitch. I wasn't sure though, but I'll check that too. Shit. I did pick a category though. Yeah, I'm streaming on YouTube, so now I gotta check Twitch. Like now that Saudi Arabia is doing good shit, like not trading their oil through petrodollars or through the American U.S. currency anymore. They're selling it to anybody. They're selling it, they're using the BRICS model and selling it to anybody's local currency who wants to buy their oil. Yeah, the U.S. don't like that. They don't like that the dollar dominance is depleting with these, the BRICS, with BRICS around it all, and the tariffs, which has really encouraged a lot of countries to divest from dollar bonds, on top of like create their own tariffs against the U.S. in their trade. Okay, I'm streaming right now. Okay, I'm streaming on both platforms. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, this makes the U.S. very mad, and this is part of. And they're also like the whole thing that China did, where they blocked rare earth minerals to the U.S. with their policy that went into effect on December 1st. We will not sell you. We will not like do trade of rare earth minerals to you. We will block the countries. We will like they're in charge of a lot of like trade routes and manufacturing infrastructure that involves rare earth minerals. They can't do a lot of like the U.S. can't do a lot of what it does, like building anything without like first going through channels connected to China, which is basically the hub of refinery, so they can even get the components they need to build the shit that they want, especially like weapons, ships, planes. The U.S. relies on a lot of components that are made in China because they're the best at refinery. The U.S. does not refine anymore. It outsourced that entire process back during, as soon as Nixon came on, there was a whole process of outsourcing the things connected to manufacturing so as to directly punish unions, labor unions, which had a big, influence in manufacturing. That was the whole motivation behind outsourcing to China in the 70s, once the Zhou Enlai, who was like a more capitalist type of influence in China, and who Mao was really criticizing. He was the type of person that Mao was really criticizing, that people don't understand. I think he was just going after anybody who's like who sneezed wrong. No, he was going after the capitalist. He was a capitalist high roader. So the people who would want to sell out the country for Western industry and to make cheap deals for Western benefits. Yeah, he was criticizing those guys. He wasn't some tyrant, but this is how the West portrays people like Mao and other socialist leaders, the ones who defeated the Nazis. Yeah, this guy is suddenly a tyrant now because they won't say that's why they want to call him a tyrant. That's the real reason they hate Stalin, though. Oh, he fought and defeated the Nazis. Like, they make up all this shit about Stalin. Like, he was a tyrant and he was evil. He did all these purges and like, what the fuck are you talking about? These are the same people who talk about the fucking Red Terror, even though it was like that was going on even before like Stalin, and it was actually a response to the White Terror that was coming from the fucking pro-czarist, the capitalist, basically. The pro-czar regime and the capitalists who were, financing the White Army in the West. They did that first. The Red Terror was just a defensive action against the White Terror, and there's a false equivalency that they frame it as in the West. It's kind of like calling affirmative action for black people racism. It's just white racism, when no, it was actually a defensive response to what you were doing, which was white affirmative action. That you just don't call it white affirmative action. It was just business as usual. It's not racism against white people. It's defense against it. That's what it was. That's the Red Terror, was defense against the fascists and the czar and the pro-monarchist, those pro-czar regimes in Western capital who was influencing that. Who was influencing the White Army. The Western capital wanted to get rid of the czar because they thought he was in the way. They just wanted some capitalist leaders to take over. And then when the Bolsheviks took power, they got really bad and decided to fund factions against the Bolsheviks, which the White Army was. And they had fucking rats like Trotsky going in to try to dismantle the Bolsheviks. His entire goal was trying to dismantle Bolshevism more than promote socialism or communism at all. It's kind of funny. He cared about fighting them more than he did fascist. That's how Trotsky was a fraud, and he made assassination attempts on party members. So the West likes him, but for that reason, he's celebrated more over here than Lenin and Stalin. Like they try to make it out like, oh yeah, Lenin was listening to Trotsky and he was just taking his ideas, and like, what the fuck is this? This is completely backwards. No, Leon Trotsky just changed. He was just he flip-flopped on all the stances he had, depending on like how successful the Bolsheviks were at the time. So just so he could stay, on the cusp of things, and to look like, oh yeah, he was in the right the whole time, or he always supported this the whole time. He would always change his stances so as to get in good with the winning side, while working for the fascist. This guy like went on fucking. He was working with the British intelligentsia, who were like pro, pro White Army. He was working with the fascists in Italy. He supported the fucking fascists in Italy to the point that he even went on exile in Mussolini's Italy. But you got a bunch of dumb, like, fucking useful idiot, fake Western leftists who revere this motherfucker. Like a lot of DSA people. This is a big part of why I don't fuck with DSA anymore. I used to support them, but then I realized they doing that shit. Oh, you like the fucking industry plants. You like the fucking Fed plants. You like the Nazi plants, the fascist plants. like Leon Trotsky. They said he was the rightful. He should have been the rightful ruler. I'm like, what the fuck did Leon Trotsky ever accomplish, other than criticizing the Bolsheviks? He criticized Lenin until the Bolsheviks won. Like, then he pretended like, oh yeah, I always supported you guys. Like, he opposed them until they won. He was just a fucking opportunist. He's the same opportunist that Lenin criticized. And Stalin didn't, like, Stalin and Lenin are not even different in ideology. Like, all Stalin did was promote the same shit Lenin did. Like, but they act like Stalin was like so radically different from Lenin, but he wasn't. This is why this whole claim about Stalinism is bullshit. Like, there's these fake people I used to follow on like fucking social media who said like they must be like paid by Israel or something. I don't know, some fucking intelligence group, Mossad, CIA. I mean, Mossad and CIA work together, so that's just redundant. But like, they said, oh, they talk about this fictional departure that Stalin did from Lenin. Where's the proof? Where's the proof that all this other shit that you claim Stalin did is actually true? There's never any provided evidence, like, other than fake evidence from like shit that happened before Stalin got in, before he, you know, had power. And then they say, well, Stalin, he had so much racism against Ukrainians and all these other ethnic groups. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. They say, oh, Stalin he was just a Russo supremacist and he revered the czars. Where is the proof of this? Nowhere. Like, Stalin himself was a fucking ethnic minority. He's not fucking from Russia. He's from Georgia. He was an ethnic minority himself. Where's this fake ass Russian supremacy nonsense coming from? It didn't hold water. It's just CIA propaganda, Nazi propaganda, basically, to make him look bad for defeating the Nazis in World War II. It's shit like that. That's the reasoning. They want you to think of Stalin as a bad guy, and that so as you sympathize with the Nazis, he stomped into the ground. Like, like they wanted to like, it's like that whole situation with Canada trying to make you feel sorry for Nazis when they had that mural about victims of communism, and there were like, most of them were fucking Nazis. You go look up the names. Oh, this is a Nazi. This is a guy who did fucking Holocaust and shit. He was doing real purges. They call like, oh yeah, sending some fucking landlord on exile because he was starving people. They call that a bad purge. I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking? No, that's a good thing. We need to be doing that. We need to be Luigi Mangioning a bunch of those type of people, to be honest. A bunch of those CEOs, a bunch of those fucking... That's basically what they were. You know? A bunch of disgusting corpos who got what they deserved. They want you to feel sorry for them, and then they also want you to feel sorry for Nazis. Straight up. Those are the victims of communism, and then... like, Canada had to, like, blank out some of the names because people were looking up and finding, oh, these are just Nazis you want us to feel sorry for. And, like, yeah. Western democracy is, like, ran by literal Nazis. This is why they hated the Soviet Union. And the Cold War happened at all because of them. Because they're Nazis. They hated that the fucking Soviets beat the fucking Nazis. And they brought communism and socialism, the road to communism. Like, fascists don't want that. Like, the US, through Wall Street, propped up Hitler in the first place to fight communists. And then also, yeah, not just the US, also the Bank of London. And, you know, fucking Dutch banks and royals. They funded Hitler. They even gave him concessions with the Munich Agreement. They really want to, like, shame the Soviet Union for the fucking Ribbentrop Pact, but they only did that because because of the Munich Agreement. They needed time to stall so as to be able to prepare to fight the Nazis. So, oh well, okay. Well, the West apparently likes Hitler so much. We're gonna do this ribbon pact to tell them, like, don't fucking fight us. Then go have tea parties or go fight fucking Britain and the people who made that agreement. Go fight Britain and France who made that agreement with you. Then leave us the fuck alone until we have our arms to fight you. That's what the fuck happened. They didn't want Hitler to do that, but apparently the British and the France decided they were going to do that. The real brass in charge, who were really funding Hitler in Britain and people in France too, were also on board. You know, there's a lot of Leopold motherfuckers, or Leopold lovers in France at that time, who were like all on board with the Hitler shit. Those type of campaigns, you know, the eugenics, purging of undesirables, they were all on board with that. They loved Leopold, King Leopold. In the West, of course, but the West is usually left out of that whole discussion, even though they were backing that whole agreement too, the Munich Agreement. It's treated as only an agreement between, you know, like Britain and France and Germany, mainly. Gotta do my quest. Some shit I forgot to claim. But I do need to do the quest too. I'm kind of stalling because I'm talking, but you know, I'm not stalling. I'm not obligated to do this. But you know, I'm distracted is what I really mean. Oh, I can do some upgrades. But yeah, I'll play the rest of the video. But yeah, I just had to point out that like they really hate on countries when they're actually they're being less fascist. They're being, you know, less pro-imperialism. That's what Saudi Arabia is doing. They're having like a regression from all that evil shit. They're doing better. It's better to actually do deals with Saudi Arabia now because they're not evil. They're doing, you know, pro multipolar decisions now, which is better for the world. They're not serving the U.S. empire anymore, you know. And but the outrage of Saudi Arabia is like, it's just like because of that. That's why this recent outrage for Saudi Arabia is the way it is, because Saudi Arabia is doing less of that. The U.S. wanted them to keep up that, you know, that whole system because it served their interest. No, they're a BRICS member. They're gonna do shit that's better for multipolarity now, not the empire. Anyway, let me play the rest of this. He pointed it out in the video, so I had to, you know, comment on Saudi Arabia right quick. You got people who are like fake outraged though, who I think are paid by Israel because, you know, Saudi Arabia isn't really bending over for Israel like they used to as well. That's another issue. So I think you got some Assad people paying people online like $7,000 to like be fake outraged at Saudi Arabia when they're not really doing bad shit anymore right now. I didn't see so much outrage when Saudi Arabia was starving Yemeni people. Now I see way more of it when they stop shit like that. It's really odd. It's phony is what it is. They stopped starving Yemenis for the U.S. empire in Israel. So now we got to shit on Saudi Arabia. They don't do that anymore. They were doing it. They had to do that because they were like the excuse they gave the Saudi Arabia. You got to do it to stop the fucking terrorists, and then well, Saudi Arabia figured that out already. They're not terrorists, and the U.S. empire is dying. Why are we serving them? There's no benefit. We get no benefit from serving them. We need to. We're better off working with our BRICS partners. Like we could all have a peace. We could all, prosper without any of this shit, right? We don't need to be killing a bunch of people and going to wars. It doesn't serve any good. Space supply. Alright, one moment. I just gotta figure out where I need to go, then I'll continue. Quest. Where are my quests? I guess this is what I gotta go to. Campaign, yeah. I gotta go to the Jingshu Legacy. Jinghua Legacy, okay. Fuck. I don't know where to start, I guess here. Yeah, I can't. Oh, I can go here, okay. Track it. Alright, I'll play the rest of the video.
Is evaporating and local currency exclusive agreement. At the same time, the petrodollar, the system that forces the world to buy oil in US currency, is on life support. Saudi Arabia has refused to renew its exclusive agreement. The BRICS nations are trading energy in yuan and local currencies. The exorbitant privilege of the dollar is evaporating. And then, last week, rumors began to circulate in the financial capitals. Rumors that Venezuela, the country with the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, was about to sign a definitive agreement to price its oil exclusively in a basket of BRICS currencies. That was the red line. The United States cannot afford to let the largest oil tank in the world disconnect from the dollar. If that happens, the demand for US Treasury bonds collapses, interest rates skyrocket, the entire debt-based economy of the West implodes. So Washington had a choice. They could accept the new multipolar reality and negotiate, or they could use the one asset they still have in abundance, military force. They chose the gun. What we are witnessing is not liberation, it is liquidation. The United States has effectively foreclosed on a country to secure its assets. They have seized the collateral. This is the return of 19th century gunboat diplomacy, disguised as 21st century humanitarianism. In this video, we are going to ignore the noise. We are not going to talk about the raid. We are going to talk about the reason. We are going to expose the desperate economic mathematics that drove the United States to invade a sovereign nation. We will show you how the death of the petrodollar has turned the US military into a global debt collector, and we will explain why this tactical victory in Caracas might actually be the strategic defeat that breaks the dollar's back forever.
Who's going to trust the US anymore with
that? It's not about ballots, it's about barrels. To understand the ferocity of this move, you have to look at the American balance sheet. For decades, the Western media has sold us a myth. They told us the shale revolution had made the United States energy independent. They told us the US was the world's largest oil producer and therefore it no longer needed to care about the Middle East or Latin America. This was a half-truth, and in geopolitics, a half-truth is a full lie. The United States does produce a massive amount of oil, but it produces light sweet crude. It is like champagne, bubbly, light, and expensive. The problem is that the American industrial machine, the massive refineries in Texas and Louisiana, was built 50 years ago. It was designed to process heavy sour crude. It was built to run on the thick sludge-like oil that comes from the Middle East and Venezuela. This is the refinery mismatch that the mainstream economists ignore. The US produces champagne, but its engines run on diesel. For decades, they solved this by importing heavy oil from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
But that relationship is dead.
exactly.
We have discussed this in previous videos. Saudi Arabia is no longer the gas station of the West. Riyadh is cutting production to keep prices high. They are joining the BRICS. They are ignoring calls from the White House. So
Yep.
the United States faced a math problem. They were running out of the specific type of oil they need to keep their economy functioning. And worse,
They don't even want to
they had
upgrade
already played
because
their
they're too
ace card.
lazy and cheap.
Over the last 2 years,
The U.S. is way
in
too
a
lazy
desperate
and cheap.
attempt to stop inflation
leaders.
from destroying the sitting president's approval ratings, the administration drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, SPR. The SPR is meant for war. It is meant for national emergencies. It is not meant to buy votes. Yet, they opened the taps. They flooded the market with millions of barrels to keep gas prices artificially low. Now, the bill has come due. The SPR is hollowed out. The emergency tank is empty. And just as the tank hit empty, the Middle East flared up, threatening to cut off supply entirely. Washington looked at the
Good.
map. They looked for heavy crude.
They need to cut it off.
Canada, they are already pumping at max capacity. Russia, sanctioned and
Yeah,
hostile.
Albuquerque.
Saudi Arabia, uncooperative and pivoting east.
I mean, not Albuquerque. What do you call it? Alberta. Alberta, I mean. Fuck. That's like the Texas of Canada, basically. Yeah. U.S. was stupid to not invest in the alternative sources. You know, there's Halliburton just had to have their pie, you know? So they shut down any sort of attempts to capitalize on, you know, other sources. Like, 'cause then it would inform the global South that you have alternatives if they embrace that. If U.S. embraced the alternative energies, it would send a signal to the global South that yeah, there are other sources you can use. You don't have to like be beholden to the petrodollar and all this other shit. You don't really have to owe us any more debts or any of that crap. You know, 'cause, and also oil, like it basically is the source of like the price of everything when you factor that in. Like the factor, like when prices of oil go up, it factors in the prices of a lot of other things going up. It has to do with a lot of trade goods. Okay, so well, if this costs this much to ship these trade goods or to drive these trade goods, then that means you're gonna have to charge more for them because of the energy cost to ship them and all this other shit. But it typically involves a lot of the other goods and also utilities going up in prices. So, but if you have other energy sources that are factored in, they're not monopolized by a certain specific, you know, oil dynasties, then you have other options. I mean, you don't have to be beholden to them. And this is why the U.S. basically shit on, you know, solar power, nuclear, even nuclear, wind turbine, wind power, building dams in other places to also utilize that, you know, that power. Yeah, it's not really like we celebrate the Hoover Dam, but like it would be better if we had more in areas that could use it. Excuse me. And then, you know, there are other countries that do shit like that in a way better way. You know, like China's a good example. On top of also doing better on the pollution that they used to have like a big pollution problem, but they've been getting cleaner over the past decades, and also adopting other alternatives to oil. They don't need it. I mean, you know, they still use it, but it's not the only thing they you know, depend on, which is a good thing, diversifying your energy sources. And they also have like a great infrastructure for how they, like the way you also build your energy infrastructure also helps to lessen pollution. It also helps to, you know, serve a lot more people. Like the way the U.S. does it is not in the service of people, and they don't care about like, the consequences of how they together infrastructure for the peasants because they don't care about them to begin with. Countries like China think about that shit because it's like a socialized country. Anyway, Vietnam does that as well, although they're just not as developed as China.
That left only one option: the largest proven reserves on the planet, the massive heavy crude fields of the Orinoco Belt, Venezuela. For years, the US tried to starve Venezuela into submission with sanctions.
Like Venezuela, I gotta point out that like trying to fuck with Venezuela is dumb, especially because Venezuela is a bigger country than Vietnam. So like pointing out that Vietnam point that I made earlier is very, very poignant. Like this is just gonna be a repeat of this. It's gonna be a repeat of Vietnam if the U.S. wants to fight them, and it's just gonna be probably a shorter war. Hopefully, it'll be a shorter war than the Vietnam war that happened. But yeah, they have twice the manpower and twice the area, the terrain, which the Venezuelans know more than the U.S. for sure. And it's also got jungle terrain that the U.S. does not do well in. The U.S. cannot really fight in the jungle very well. We've seen that multiple times. So this will not go in the U.S.'s favor if they want to do like they want to send ground troops here. The best they can do is send like fucking aerial drones, and they'll just be shot out of the air, and that's where that'll go. Be a futile effort. Like Venezuela has anti-air defenses. If they want to use them, they have them. They have drones even. If they want to counter drones with some more drones.
They tried to create a parallel government. They tried soft coups. None of it worked. The oil stayed in the ground, or worse, it started leaking out to China via dark fleet tankers. The economic pressure in Washington became unbearable. If oil prices spiked to $150 a barrel because of a Middle East conflict, the US economy, already teetering on recession, would collapse. The dollar would lose its purchasing power overnight. They could not afford to buy Venezuela's oil at market prices, and they certainly couldn't afford to let China buy it. So the calculation changed. Containment was no longer an option. Possession became the necessity. This is why the narrative changed so fast. Just a few months ago, there were talks of easing sanctions. There were diplomats shaking hands. But when the SPR hit critical lows, the handshake turned into a fist. The US military operation was not launched to save the Venezuelan people. It was launched to secure the Orinoco Belt. It was a hostile takeover of a distressed asset. Think about the timing.
To quote Fidel Castro, who has the U.S. ever saved? I think even Hugo Chavez presented this question. Who has the U.S. ever saved with their interventions? I can't think of any. They make movies about fake saving during World War II. That's the closest. But the U.S. didn't really save anybody in World War II. It didn't even enter World War II until fucking Pearl Harbor, which was seemed to be like a planned false flag to begin with, to encourage the U.S. to get involved in World War II so as to save the Nazis. I think there was just a false flag to get the U.S. in there to go save the Nazis who were clearly losing at that point. This is like a covert operation to round up the people they wanted for their, to justify their Operation Paperclip. That subsequently came out to explain why we have all these Nazis in these spaces. Well, we had to rescue them because they're so smart, guys. Like, no, you just wanted to rescue Nazis and have them do their Nazi shit back home. What for the Cold War you wanted to set up following World War II? That's what that was about. the U.S. got involved for that covert operation to do that. All the U.S. did in World War II was bomb two civilian cities in Japan. That's it. They didn't bomb any like strategic military base or anything. They were not pivotal in the winning of that war. They seemed to be on the side of the fascists, if anything. And like Britain barely, I can't even say Britain was really fighting. They didn't even put up a second front. Fuck Britain. And both the U.S. and Britain, they all got involved like really late compared to like they declared war, but they didn't really start fighting until what 1943 and 44, when the Soviet Union was already fucking fighting. Like the British they had petty little skirmishes. They weren't like real. They weren't like what was going on in Eastern Europe though. Russians were losing a bunch of people. They were doing really bloody fights over their side. Britain barely lost anybody. I mean, some of their infrastructure got a bit roughed up, but it wasn't like as severe as what was happening in Eastern Europe. And they didn't lose that many people compared to the Soviet Union, because they weren't really fighting them. They were on the side of the fascist. At least their leaders were. You could say the soldiers weren't necessarily on the side of the fascists, and they thought they were fighting a just war, but they weren't. I could show you a lot of people who went to Iraq and Afghanistan who think they were like fighting a just war, but the leaders certainly weren't there for that reason. The ones they're taking orders from were not there for that. They weren't there to save people. And I think some soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan would have figured by the time that they had a bunch of those shock and awe campaigns in villages, or just slaughtering civilian villages and even raping the women there, that yeah, they're not there for a just reason at that point. I think they figured it out. Anyway, just as soldiers in Vietnam figured, they should by the point that they started burning like civilian village houses, yeah, they should have learned that they're not there for a just reason. Those aren't combatants. There's no reason to do that. The reason you're doing that is because you're on board with that. You were evil. You were a Nazi. You served the white supremacists at that point. There's no, like, there's no question. Nothing to be confused about at that point. I don't know why I can't see this shit. Is it? Oh, it's low ground. It says. I should have saw that. So I do got to go down. Where's the cliff though? There's a cliff somewhere. I don't see it yet. These fucking bandits. I guess the cliff is not that way. I'm assuming it'll be. Ooh, look at this fucking map. Maybe here. Unless that's a river. I don't think it's a river, but it might be. Can I go here? Okay, I'm gonna head south. Maybe that'll work. Hey, did I say that Stalin was from Georgia? Yeah, he was from Georgia. He was an ethnic minority in Russia. So there's no people who say that he was like some Russian supremacist don't. It's like that's how you know that they don't know what they're talking about, and they're just like some Western feds who never really researched Stalin to begin with. They're just regurgitating what the CIA told them to say. Yes, he really hated them Ukrainians for no reason. He never wrote about hating them ever. But trust us, guys. And then when you point out, like, Hitler literally writing about he wanted to destroy the Soviet Union because he thought it was the hub of the Jewry. Like, we want to ignore that. we want to say the World War II was not about trying to destroy the Soviet Union, guys. Don't say that, even though that's what Hitler wrote in Mein Kampf, right? He was just some puppet set up to go fight the Soviets in communism. What the hell is this? Oh, I gotta do this test. No, don't you dare say that the Soviet Union was the reason why we decided to fight World War II. We wanted to stop them and stop communism. Don't you dare point that out. Don't you dare point out the truth about our fucking scheme that we backed Hitler to go fight the Soviet Union. I mean, the Cold War pretty much made that evident, but don't you dare point that out. That's what our agenda was. And we really wanted to support Hitler openly instead of covertly. That's why we came up with the Operation Unthinkable. Don't you dare say that. Think nothing of our Operation Paperclip, where we rescued a bunch of Nazis, by the way, and also even put them in positions of power in the UN and the fucking EU and fucking NASA. Don't think about that. Oh yeah, also NATO. Don't think about that, guys. Don't think about that. That's fake news. We didn't support the Nazis, guys. Like, there's all these people who are like so cope. They just cope so hard. Whatever you point out, that our fucking guys supported the Nazis. Yes, they did. The U.S. did. Britain did. The whole Anglosphere did. They loved that motherfucker because look how their countries were found. Look what Britain outsourced. Did nothing but genocidal campaigns throughout its entire history. Outsourcing it to other lands. U.S. was founded on genociding the natives. As was Australia, Canada, fucking New Zealand. That's the Five Eyes. That's the Anglosphere. You won't find any other Anglo settlement anywhere else in the world that was not fucking genocidal racist. Like, I wish I could find one, but it seems like every fucking Anglo settlement, they ended up doing that. It's really weird. It's almost like the whole establishment is just built on that shit. Like, Anglo societies are built on that. Like, ultimately, that's just all they're about. That's why there's no divergence. No matter what part of the world they settle in. Evil ass fucking establishment. Anyway. They set up Israel. It was the fucking Britain that set up Israel in the first place. Or set up the fucking area which became to be known as Israel by 1949. They didn't call it that at the point. It was still referred to as Palestine. But they wanted to build Israel there. And then people also want to complain about Saudi Arabia. Well, you know who like propped up the Al Saud family in the first place? Well, it was Britain. Britain did that. It was the Anglos. That's the only reason the Al Sauds have power. It's thanks to them. So blame your fucking Anglo-Sphere empire for that. If you hate them so damn much. Quit passing the fucking buck. I would say the Saudi Arabia's doing better than they were under the, the Anglo-Sphere collaboration. They started to divest from them now, which is a good thing. Like, you be hearing all these British people and American people just passing the buck to Saudi Arabia, but motherfucker, your country backs them. Your country gives them the targets. What are you talking about? Any bad thing you want to say about Saudi Arabia, your country funded and backed and propped up. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear this from any Anglo-Sphere country. They wouldn't be doing that shit if you weren't paying them to do it. You weren't propping up the leaders there who want to do that shit. That's what you did. That's where the Al Saud family came from. Thankfully, the current prince is being smart and going along with better, not less colonial alternatives. And that's thanks to BRICS, not America, not Britain, not any Anglo establishment. Anyway, I was telling people like we need to stop sleeping on BRICS. This is what's influencing a lot of countries for the better. Don't be sleeping on BRICS.
This operation happened just as global oil prices were threatening to break out. It happened just as the US realized they could not refill the reserves on the open market without bankrupting the treasury. They needed a new supplier who wouldn't ask for market rates. They needed a supplier they could control. They needed a vassal. And since the Saudi prince refused to be a vassal, they decided to create a new one in Caracas. It is a brutal, cynical application of power. The US military is effectively acting as the private security force for the US Department of Energy. But here is the catch. While this might solve the physical shortage of oil for a few months, it accelerates the financial disaster. Because the rest of the world is watching. Every country in the global south, from Nigeria to Brazil to Indonesia, is looking at Venezuela and thinking, if we refuse to sell our resources in dollars, will they come for us next? This fear does not create loyalty. It creates an exodus.
Nigeria definitely needs to divest from the US.
Were the gun,
I'm tired of the
currency
puppets over
war
there.
was the bullet. We must remember the fundamental law of the post-1971 world. The US dollar is not backed by gold. It is not backed by industrial productivity. It is backed by a simple agreement made 50 years ago with the House of Saud. Oil must be sold in dollars. This is the magic trick. Because every nation on earth needs oil, every nation on earth needs dollars to buy it, this creates a permanent artificial demand for the US currency. It allows the United States to print trillions of dollars out of thin air, export the inflation to the rest of the world, and never face the consequences. This system is the exorbitant privilege. It is the source of American prosperity. But recently, the magic started to fade. We have watched the BRICS nations systematically dismantle this system. We saw Russia demanding rubles for gas. We saw the UAE settling oil trades in Indian rupees. We saw Saudi Arabia discussing the petro-yuan with Beijing. But Venezuela was the final straw. Intelligence reports, which the mainstream media is conveniently ignoring, suggested that Caracas was preparing a nuclear option for the financial markets. Venezuela was on the verge of officially integrating its energy sector into the Chinese Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS. They were preparing to price their entire reserve, the largest on earth, not in dollars, but in a basket of currencies led by the yuan and backed by gold. If this had happened, it would have been a signal to the entire global south. It would have proven that you can possess massive wealth outside the American banking system and survive. Washington saw this as an existential threat.
That's why BRICS is a good
thing.
If
Venezuela's oil is traded in yuan, then China does not need to hold US dollars to buy it. If China dumps its US dollars, the value of the American currency crashes. If the dollar crashes, the cost of living in the United States doubles or triples overnight.
It already has.
The raid on Caracas was a desperate attempt to plug this leak in the financial dam. By physically seizing the government, the US installs a new administration.
Well, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here.
And what will be the first step of this new administration? You can bet your life savings on it. They will declare that, for the stability of the markets, Venezuela will honor all contracts in US dollars. They will repeg the bolivar to the dollar. They will invite American oil majors, Chevron, Exxon, back into the country to rebuild the infrastructure. They are forcing the oil back into the dollar system at gunpoint. This exposes the terrifying fragility of the American empire. A true superpower dominates through economics. It offers the best trade deals, the best technology, the most stable currency. People want to use your money. But a declining power cannot compete on merit, so it resorts to coercion.
Force.
The United States is no longer the leader of the free world in the markets. it has become the enforcer of the dollar standard. And this creates a prisoner's dilemma for every other resource-rich nation. Look at Brazil. Look at the lithium triangle in South America. Look at the cobalt mines in Africa. The message from Washington is clear. Your resources belong to the dollar system. If you try to leave, we will come and get you. But this strategy has a fatal flaw. You can invade one country, you might be able to invade two, but you cannot invade the entire world.
No, you can't invade all of them.
The BRICS alliance is too big. The de-dollarization trend is too advanced.
U.S. had to back off
By
of
attacking
Yemen.
Venezuela,
They can handle
the U.S. has proved exactly
countries.
why the world needs an alternative system. They have validated every speech Putin and Xi Jinping have ever made about American aggression.
Yep.
They have won the battle for Caracas, but they have lost the war for trust. Before
They haven't even
today,
taken over
countries
Caracas.
used
They
the dollar
kidnapped.
because it
They
was
kidnapped
convenient.
They kidnapped
Tomorrow,
Maduro.
they will dump the
They
dollar
don't run
because
it.
it is
They don't
dangerous.
run Caracas.
Holding U.S. assets now means you are vulnerable. It means your sovereignty is conditional. The petrodollar is no longer...
I had to pause there because, like, no, they didn't even win in Caracas because all they did was kidnap Maduro. Even Maduro said, like, this is bigger than me. They want to focus on me and call me a criminal, but, you know, it's about our system, really. You can't stop this, what we're doing, just because you get me. This is before he ever got kidnapped. He pointed this out. Like, him going away is not going to stop anything. Them taking him away is not going to stop anything. So they've not won in Caracas. They did a demoralization action, kidnapping Maduro, which just shows weakness, if anything. They didn't stay to get the smoke, did they? No. They kidnapped one guy. Somebody ratted him out, I think. Somebody who untrustworthy within the cabinet, like, ratted him out or something, or where he was gonna be, and then he got ambushed by some fucking military brass from the U.S. They didn't take over any area at all. So yeah, I don't see that going well for the U.S. in the long term. My mom was wanting to move over in that area. I'm glad I convinced her not to. Shit. At this point, not Venezuela directly, but, you know, an area around Venezuela where there's going to be some military action soon that will escalate, if anything. Okay, I'm gonna play more.
Longer a trade agreement. It is a hostage situation. And as history shows, hostage situations rarely end well for the hostage taker. So, where does this leave us? The helicopters will eventually leave Caracas. The news cycle will move on. The stock market in New York might even rally for a few days as the prospect of cheap oil intoxicates Wall Street. But the damage to the soul of the international order is permanent.
How are they going to get the oil?
By raiding Venezuela to seize its resources, the United States has officially torn up the mask of the liberal international order. For 70 years, they preached about the sanctity of borders. They sanctioned Russia for violating sovereignty. They lectured China on non-interference. Today, those lectures are worthless.
And they were all lies to begin with.
Is now written in bold
Lectures
letters
built on
across
lies.
the sky. The United States has
None of those
revealed
accusations
itself
were true.
not as a global policeman,
Against China or
but
Russia.
as a global pirate. A pirate that is running
you got
low on
Zelensky
supplies
clapping
and is
for
willing
Trump
to board any ship
kidnapping
to stay
Maduro.
afloat.
Like, that's how you know that motherfucker
This
was
act
a
of
plant.
desperation will not save the dollar.
I knew earlier.
It will accelerate.
I've been pointing out that Zelensky's a fucking plant since that whole shit popped off. I mean, he's a fucking actor. Nothing he says is sincere. So is Trump. Trump is an actor too. Like, people don't, you know, acknowledge this enough. That motherfucker is an actor. He's been on TV since the fucking 80s doing something, making cameos or straight up acting, or, you know, playing a caricature of himself which is not that different from himself. But he's lying the entire time. What's the point? He's just there to go act, which is basically what he's doing. Mainly is lying. Acting and lying go hand in hand, and that's what he is. He's a lying actor. They make the best puppet presidents. They're just gonna read lines and say whatever will convince idiots that they're like, they really believe in this or that. Whatever helps, the narrative they want to push. Well, he really believes that they're like Maduro's a narco terrorist. That's why he had to go get him. Like, yeah, guys, I think he's a terrorist, and I think he's smuggling fentanyl. Trump knows that's bullshit. He doesn't actually believe that, but he can convince people that he believes that. He can convince gullible people. Even some people on the left have fallen for that claim. He really thinks that guy's a narco terrorist. I can't believe it. We got to convince him he's not. Show him all this stuff that contradicts his argument. Like, Trump doesn't give a fuck. Okay. You send that to Donald Trump's fucking Truth Social address. He don't give a fuck because he already knows he's lying. He's a fucking actor. He doesn't believe much of what he says at all. Like all that hate he was spewing about Hillary was also acting. He never hated her. He was always friends with the Clintons. He's an actor, guys. He's doing literal real life pro wrestling. Like, he even cameoed on WWE. Like, he knows how to kayfabe. That's what he's there to do. He knows Maduro's not some fucking narco terrorist. They kidnapped him to try to take over the oil from there and also the rare earth minerals that this guy does not really bring up because I don't think he knows as much about the rare earth mineral situation too, which is also tied to the AI race because rare earth minerals is tied up in the semiconductors race, which then became the AI race. Semiconductors are very pivotal in how AI infrastructure is developed. Of course, the components, of course, but also the architecture as well. And with China blocking a lot of the U.S. access to it, because they made a policy where we're not going to do like any rare earth mineral deals with countries that want to repurpose this for military reasons. That includes the U.S. and their partners. So this has really neutralized a lot of the U.S.'s prospects with AI trying to dominate China there and and then semiconductors in general. That went into effect on December. So I knew something was going to pop off during December, or at least by the end of December. That went into effect on December 1st. The whole rare earth minerals policy China set forth to block the U.S. from, building up military actions. This is what, like, people were asking, what's China doing for Palestine? I'm like, well, for one thing, China doesn't have military bases all over the world, right? They're not obligated to, like, be the police of the world or anything. They do what they can. But shit like that is what they've been doing for Palestine. They've also been, like, trying to help them get economy and also, like, real infrastructure. So as to basically better insulate themselves and inform the world about what's going on in Palestine. They made a deal to build, like, networks for them to do, get reporting from Palestine. A lot of people are in the dark about what's going on in Palestine. When China made a deal with them to, like, get the info out and with networks. They're building an infrastructure. They're also helping them indirectly in the Red Sea by helping Yemenis with doing deals with them, as is Russia, so that Palestinians can get fucking resources and get food. Next to the efforts with supporting the Houthis in Yemen and in the Red Sea. Like, China's one of the biggest sources of like Palestinians being able to get any food. While the West has been trying to block those efforts any way they can. They've been successful, of course, in certain areas with blocking food. You've seen all the starving, malnourished children and just people in general, which is fucked up. And Maduro was calling that shit out too. He said like no children should be starving, man. What the fuck is that? But then you have that motherfucker Mamdani shit on him. Like, that's how I knew Mamdani was a fraud. Fuck that guy. What's he even saying about Maduro right now? He got sworn in this week apparently. What the fuck is he? What is he saying about Maduro? I ain't seen him say shit. I'm gonna go look it up right quick. What has Mamdani said about Maduro right now? He's in your fucking city, bitch. You ain't saying shit about that. You ain't defending him either. He already shit on him before. I know he ain't gonna defend him. I gotta see what he's saying about him now. Mamdani, did you say a fucking word about Maduro? I'm looking something up. Like, when I saw that motherfucker was being backed by some fucking Zionist. There's some Zionist donors to this motherfucker. Okay, well, this guy's a fraud. He also kept in that fucking Zionist police chief. No, I think I could work with her. I'm not going to fire her. Like, okay, well, you're not looking serious to me. You don't look very serious about being in support of Palestinians to me. You look like you're a plant. And you shit on pro-Palestinian leaders in the global south who are being threatened with imperialism by your country. And you call him a tyrant. And that he's suppressing speech. If only Maduro was suppressing speech over there, maybe you wouldn't have some people selling him out to the West, like what seems to be the cause of him getting kidnapped. Somebody in his cabinet got convinced to sell him out so he can get kidnapped. You got these people still calling Mamdani like a Islamist extremist. They wish he was. No, he's a fucking industry plant, an establishment plant. He serves Zionism. He's a Trojan, looking like he was in support of Palestinians. That's what they do, man. They'll like fund a guy to say nice words that'll convince people that, oh yeah, he's for this side. Meanwhile, he's taking marching orders from the very people that he's pretending to be against. Like you don't get on like corporate news or win an election unless you're on board with their platform. You're on board with the military industrial complex. You're on board with Wall Street. You're on board with corporate media. You actually support what they want or regurgitate. You validate their arguments. Even if you say you're against someone, you still validate their narratives. Like you call Maduro a fucking tyrant. Like what the fuck is that? That's what the corporate news says. That's not what's true. I ain't see him say shit about Maduro. What the fuck? He's in his city. I can't believe this. He got sworn in. Didn't he just get sworn in? Okay, I found something. This is recent, apparently. Just in New York, he's mayor right now. He got sworn in. Unilaterally attacking a sovereign nation, Venezuela. It's an act of war and a violation of federal. Okay, well, that's good to say. Why did you call him a tyrant earlier, though? That's fucking good. You fucking said that. But are you for? Do you really believe that? He doesn't. We already know. It's just not popular. Like nobody's on board with um, Trump kidnapping another sovereign leader, unless they're just straight up Nazis. Like there's this channel I used to follow called Griffin Gaming. I unfollowed them today. I mean, I should have unfollowed him a long time ago because he's stupid. I didn't really watch him, but I apparently still had him on follow. So one of his dumb videos came up, like glazing Trump for kidnapping Maduro, and he said, "Oh yeah, now Iran and Cuba are next. Yeah, let's go, guys." Or no, he didn't even say Iran. He said Cuba and Mexico because he believes that whole narco terrorist story. He believes Mexico and Cuba are doing narco terrorism. They're smuggling in fentanyl. Like no, Mexico's been the best it's been in a while, thanks to like um, Scheinbaum, who's running Mexico right now. She's really done. She's really been a good turn for that country. Don't be like they want to glaze these fucking female leaders who are shit, like Mikado, who's not even a leader yet, but they want her to be the leader of Venezuela. Like that bitch sucks. She's just a straight up Nazi. Fuck her. No. Scheinbaum from Mexico is the leaders they need to be glazing. They want to glaze female leaders. Get the fuck out of my face with that Nobel Peace Prize fraud, that industry plant trying to take over Venezuela and saying, yeah, Israel, you can have all our oil. Come on. We'll give it to you for cheap. Like, what the fuck? If this is not the most obvious plant, regime change plant, like, who believes her? You gotta be high or just a Nazi. I don't know. 1 second, I'll be right back. Gotta do something. I'm gonna mute right quick. Okay. Yeah, with the work Scheinbaum was doing in Mexico, I was wanting to go there last year. But then I started noticing the U.S. is doing military operations around there, so I started to pause. Like, oh, fuck, man. They're trying to do some fuck shit over there. I think I should postpone my trip to Mexico this year. Yeah. I was really in a rush to want to go down there too, man. I had all these plans. Then the US fucked it up. They always fucking everything up, man. Like this fucking country, I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of this fucking country. They gotta fuck up all the fucking plans I want to do. Ever since 2020. Fucking it up. I'm done with this country, man. Like I don't know why anybody wants to like defend this country. Must let stay here. Like what the fuck? Like you ain't fighting the fucking You ain't fighting the fucking president. I don't know why the fuck you gonna justify staying here. You're not fighting these fucking Nazis in charge right now. I don't understand why you gonna justify staying here or say anybody else is stupid for leaving. Like what? Nah, you on board with this motherfucker is what it sounds like. You're not opposed to anything they're doing. You're not opposed to what these Nazis are doing. You just fucking love it here. For what? What past memories you have that are like being ground up? You're not getting back because you're just letting them. You just let them fucking. You're not fighting. You're not fighting any of these fucking Nazis. Like you're supposed to be the majority group apparently. You call everyone else a minority. You don't, but you in the majority. You says I guess you really on board with this. You're not. None of y'all are really in large numbers fighting back against this shit. It looks like to me you like it. All right. I want to give the benefit of the doubt, but then I see there's not a big, large mobilization of these so-called non-minorities who are pushing back at all. I just got to at that point think, well, they just on board with it. They love it. They love it. That's probably what it is. I gotta say it. I don't blame anybody for divesting from the West when they see that shit too. They're already not doing anything good for like the global South. They ain't been serving us or they've been serving the global South or like, you know, brown or black folks since their relationships with them. Like Europe still like taking resources from Africa. It's only recently they've been like Africa's been successful in pushing a lot of them out in the Sahel states at least. There needs to be more work done though. There's still a bunch of these fucking parasites from Europe and the Anglosphere who are still stealing resources and profiting off of the taxes. Like they still get straight up taxes from like African nations and even nations, you know, not even just Africa, but yeah, especially Africa. But in other global South countries that they've left and gave fake faux independence to while they still have to pay them fucking taxes. They still gotta pay these fucking European countries and Anglo countries taxes for their freedom. Well, we had a lot of losses when you guys fought us back and got your independence, your resistance groups. They really ruffled off fucking pantaloons, so you have to pay retribution for that forever with interest. Like fuck your pantaloons, bitch. Let's cancel those debts. I don't think like they should just straight up cancel those debts, man. Fuck paying them anything. Like, you Rhodesians don't deserve any fucking reparations, motherfucker. It's the other way around. You fucking Belgians don't deserve any reparations. Fucking Leopold fucks don't deserve a goddamn thing. It's the other way around. France don't deserve no fucking reparations. They can suck a dick. They still been paying them though. What the fuck is that? They've been paying them to the modern day. They want to say slavery ended. Why do you keep bringing up slavery? Why can't you just get over slavery? I'm like, motherfucker, you're still committing modern day slavery. The shit didn't fucking end. You even bring it back in countries that didn't have it, like Libya. You're bringing it back in Sudan. What the fuck is that? And I'm seeing straight up, people get straight up gassed there. I'm supposed to like act like, oh yeah. Yeah, I should be softer on these guys, right? Don't be so mean to them, all right? I mean, they want to criticize China for not doing anything, even though it's their white ass countries doing this shit, and they don't actually do anything to fight against it. We got to focus on China not doing enough. Like, what is that bullshit? What is that hypocrisy? These are fake leftists too. These people call themselves leftists, looking out for China. What's China doing? Why isn't China doing enough? Motherfucker, what are you doing? You don't do shit to fight your Nazi leaders at all. Or to stop any of that shit I just brought up. You don't do a goddamn thing. Because you like that you get those resources from our countries. Where do you get that chocolate? Where do you get that gold? Where do you get that tea? Where do you get all that shit that's in your electronics, bitch? You don't want to stop that. They don't even consider like just trading with any of those countries fairly, you know? Just doing a fair trade. They think they gotta steal it. They gotta genocide black and brown people to get that shit. Instead of just doing fair trade with us. This is the arrogance. They don't think you're even worthy of like just making it a fair trade deal with. They don't ever consider. You have a motherfucker like Asmongold, who's like a big content creator. That's what he says. But we need to do that to get these deals, or else it'll cost more. Like, no, it wouldn't. Your billionaires wouldn't get all the profits, and they wouldn't be. You know, if you police them, it'll probably cost a fairer price. To be honest, because the prices just increase with a false premium because they're trying to maximize profits over here in the West. Like, they don't even sell it, like, in their own domestic country, they don't even sell it for that same price. Like, unless there's a, you know, Western corporation in charge in their country. But like, they don't sell it to each other for like a upcharged premium in their own country. Otherwise, for shit that they make or, you know, gather. It only happens when you got some Western puppet overseeing the country or controlling the country. You think prices went up in Burkina Faso because they took back their country from the French? No. That'll be the same for like any other people who want to trade with Burkina Faso. Yeah, we're gonna have similar deals. Or maybe a small increase for, like, you know, because there's going to be some import costs, of course. But otherwise, yeah, they're not going to be. It's like, why do we got to assume that this is the only way to get fairer prices? If we just let a bunch of billionaires go over to these black and brown countries to steal the resource, yeah, because they really give a fuck about giving us low prices over here, guys. The billionaires they're all about that. They haven't done shit about any of the inflation, much less the tariffs also on top of the inflation. That's increased a lot of prices. They don't give a fuck. They haven't lowered prices on anything ever since that. They haven't lowered prices on anything even when COVID was going on. They jacked up prices. And they haven't gone back down since. They never reverse price increases. They just normalize it. Oh, well, this is just normal now, guys. And you forget about that it's just been a price increase at all until the next price increase. The only thing that really goes down is, well, I guess, oil prices, because there's more things tied up in, you know, oil prices than like civilian needs. Like, they got to get, because that's involved in trade, so you got to get some oil prices down domestically for certain trade businesses to maximize, so they maximize their profits. But on a whole, not really, you know, not everyone's benefiting from any. There's no price drops across the board, is what I'm saying. Sadly, like the companies that raise prices because let's say gas prices went up, their goods don't go down in price when the gas prices go down. They still stay jacked up. This is what I'm talking about. There's no across the board lowering of price whenever gas goes down, sadly. Like the price of it, I mean. Quest. Oh, the quest is right here. I was looking in the wrong. How did I miss this? We need to go here. Yeah. We're going the wrong way. Oh, that's a new cool fit. I like the color anyway. I had to see the rest of it. Yeah, I got quite a few outfits since I last played this. This is not what I had on when I originally started. This is pretty nice though. I have a bluer outfit too. You know, I'm more about the blue. That's my style. I don't wear blue all the time in real life though. I actually need to get more blue wardrobe in real life. But, you know, I like it. You know, I'd wear this fit in real life. What he has on right now, I literally wear this out in public. Shit, I could probably get away with this in Vietnam. I'm trying to go there this year. And China. I mean, I'm definitely going to visit China, if not stay there. I'm looking for some jobs over in that area, though. Near Vietnam. It'd be nice if I could also get a job in China, but I'm not going to start there. I need to get some more things up in order. But I will definitely try to visit China this year, at the very least. Okay, where are my clothes? Yeah, I got clothes. This isn't so blue. This is more black, to be honest. But I do have a blue outfit. I had this on for a while, and it's really good. I like it. It's a pretty good outfit. I also have this outfit, which, you know, for black outfits, this is pretty goated. It's very fancy. This would be like, I'd wear this at a wedding. This is wedding attire, in my opinion. I don't know about you. It's so suave, dude. Oh my god, I look elegant. I look like a fucking celestial. That's the, you know, that's the goal. But we're gonna wear this for now. This is my hard work attire. I just wear that, you know, when I talk to some special NPCs who are cool, and I have like the most fanciest sparring match or boss battle. Okay, well, this says the quest is right here, but why won't they just take me to the fucking floor where it's supposed to be? Am I back to where yeah, I'm back to where I was. I don't get this fucking quest. I'm gonna pick another quest, fuck it. This is dumb. Solve the puzzle on the wall. There's a puzzle on what wall? This wall? I'm probably not gonna do the best at puzzles right now while I'm talking about. Well, I mean, I can do this offline. So I'm gonna pick a different quest. Come back to that one. I gotta do that one offline when I'm not talking. Let's go there. I gotta check my oven too. I have some chicken in there. Yeah, I'm just really tired of people like fake leftists Oops, 1 second. Good thing I opened my window. It's kind of smoky. It's not burnt though. But yeah, I'm tired of these fake people, these fake anti-imperialists, like online spaces and in real life as well. Just leftist space. You know, people going to leftist spaces in general. And content creators, like even fucking that motherfucker, Bad Empanada, accusing other people of not doing enough. And like, yeah, China, he says China's not doing enough, and black people, you're not doing enough. They're like, motherfucker, what the hell are you talking about? You always want to accuse other people, except yourself, of not doing enough. Like, Bad Empanada, you are more adjacent to being white. You can't be trying to talk to us about what we need to be doing. We're not even black people are not the majority in this fucking country, apparently. I mean, that's what they say. How the fuck you expect us to be like running the show? You want us to do all the work? No, I think what he really wants us, he means is he wants us to be human shields for him and his more, you know, pale-faced, privileged people. That's what he wants. He's not American, but he wants some browner people to like be his human shield. That's what he really wants. I've never seen this guy at any demonstration. I don't believe him at all. I think he might be like some plant. Like, just as I stopped trusting Hassan, I stopped trusting that guy. All these online content creators cannot be trusted. They say some CIA shit at certain points, and then they just expose that they either are stupid or they were just plants to begin with. That motherfucker does nothing. Like, whenever China comes up, he typically criticizes China for not doing anything or doing enough. I'm like, he wants China to be like imperialist like the US. What can they do? They don't occupy these countries. What are they gonna do openly? They are already doing shit. It's just like, you don't ever want to like compliment it though whenever it's pointed out. Or he just ignores it. He like, people have sent him shit and he just ignores it. Because he seems like he's a Fed. Yeah. Like, he did a video about, oh, well, China they have the highest trade with Israel. He doesn't put that into context at all. No, their trade does not depend on Israel. You mean it's the other way around, if anything? But actually, no. Israel depends on the U.S. mainly. All the Israel gets from China is, you know, commercial goods. All right. They buy like microwaves and fucking rice cookers. They're not selling them like some fucking special shit. No, they get weapons and arms from the U.S. Not China. They get also just straight up stimulus from the U.S., not China. China's not giving them a big donation of money or funds. And yeah, of course, China's going to have like big trade with Israel because they're the fucking like manufacturing hub of the world. Like, they have the highest trade with practically all the countries. They trade with damn near all, like, they're the highest in trade with damn near all the countries except for anything military. Right? But you want to get mad at them for shit that they're not doing, such as military sales. That's stupid. Like, he literally accused China of like selling arms to Israel. Like, China would rather sell AK-47s to Israel. Motherfucker, when? When the fuck did that ever happen? In fact, it's been China and North Korea, and yeah, China and North Korea, who basically were the first to recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. Well, in the Soviet Union as well. Not the, you know. And, well, at first Soviet Union, they thought maybe we could try this two-state solution if it doesn't escalate. But they said, no, they need to be like a sovereign state. Like, Palestine needs this needs to be like a, you know, an equal state in Palestine. It doesn't need to be like the Israel state. just be Palestine and, you know, Jewish people can live there. But 1 second, I'll be right back. Food's done. All right. Food is done. Delicious food. The best I've ever made. Not the best, but it'll serve my palate today. Some good chicken. All right. But yeah, the other base thing about North Korea is that they've always called out Israel as an illegitimate state that's evil as fuck, and they've been right 100% of the time. And oh yeah, also North Korea is they're especially justified in their stance. Yeah, you need to have nuclear arms. You don't want these motherfuckers invading your country and stealing your leader. He is justified yet again. Like I don't like take anyone who shits on North Korea seriously, especially after living in South Korea and seeing the shit that is South Korea. But they making even South Korea mad right now. They're trying to like South Korea trying to like. It seems like they're really trying to get away from the West right now. They don't like the U.S. bases there anymore. They don't like the fucking trade policies that the U.S. wants them to do with China to like hurt their economy. Yeah, we want you to South Korea. We want you to stop all your trade with China and bend over for us. And we're not really going to subsidize you for doing that, by the way. Um, so yeah, suck it down. Oh, we're also going to keep our military bases there. Okay, all right. To threaten you. No, I don't think South Korea is having it. I see South Korea making plans with North Korea at this point, and having a real reunification eventually, really soon. Before, I don't know, not really soon, but eventually. But South Korea is not really liking what U.S. is making them do right now. But yeah, North Korea is better. I don't want to, like, if anybody shits on North Korea, they sound stupid to me. I know the truth. You would be better off living in North Korea than South Korea at this point. That's how bad it is. I mean, North Korea is not really a bad place, to be honest. It's actually, you'll live pretty comfortably. People call him a tyrant because they call Kim Jong-un a tyrant because, oh, he doesn't allow, like, lying corporate media to say whatever they want over there. I'm like, good. Maduro should have done that. Maduro should have straight up done what Kim Jong-un's doing. Like, why am I going to give a fuck about corporate news lying and not being able to lie as much? Fuck them. No, we're not going to come over here and tell bullshit lies about us. All right. Let's go to this. This one better not be underground too. It is in the water. Well, probably there's a cliff behind this lake. Probably should have done this earlier, like in the year. Well, it came out late last year. But I probably should have done it when the quest came up. I don't know. It's also low ground. Where the fuck are we? Are we on a straight up mountain that I didn't realize? I guess so. Oh, it said to dive into the lake. I didn't know I could dive into that lake. Oh. 1 second. I'm gonna eat right quick though. We're just gonna listen to something in the background because I can't eat and dive at the same time. I don't think I can.
Its demise.
I'm just playing the rest of this video.
Today, those lectures are worthless. The hypocrisy is now written in bold letters across the sky. The United States has revealed itself not as a global policeman, but as a global pirate. A pirate that is running low on supplies and is willing to board any ship to stay afloat. This act of desperation will not save the dollar. It will accelerate its demise. Think about the reaction in Riyadh. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is watching this. He sees that an oil-rich leader was removed because he threatened the petrodollar status quo. Do you think this makes Saudi Arabia more loyal to Washington? No. It makes them paranoid. It convinces them that they must move their wealth into gold, into yuan, into assets the US military cannot reach. It convinces them to speed up their entry into BRICS. Think about the reaction in Beijing. China now knows that its energy supply lines from the Americas are not safe. This will force China to double down on its pipelines with Russia and Iran. It will force the Eurasian fortress to close its gates even tighter. The US hope to secure cheap oil. Instead, they have solidified the anti-American alliance. They have drawn a line in the sand, the West versus the rest. And in this new divided world, the West is finding itself outnumbered and out-resourced.
Nobody likes the
You can steal Venezuela's oil for a year, maybe
West.
2, but you cannot steal the future. The economic gravity is shifting to the East. The productive capacity is in the East. And now the moral high ground, as twisted as it sounds, is being claimed by the East. The Venezuela raid will go down in history books, not as a triumph of American power, but as the moment the American empire admitted it was bankrupt. They had to break the glass and pull the emergency lever. The oil may flow north for now, but the trust, the influence, and the legitimacy of the dollar have flowed away forever. The petrodollar is dead. Long live the empire of debt.
I agree. Fuck the U.S. Fuck the West in general. Fuck the EU. EU's evil as well. I mean, it's basically a subordinate of the U.S. So that's part of why it sucks as well. And then, it's a white supremacist establishment. That's another thing. Anyway. Play another thing.
In a move that has shocked many around the world, except for those in the West who claim to support freedom and international
They
law,
never do.
the United States has carried out a brutal military operation in Venezuela and captured its president and his wife, who have been taken back to New York against their will. China has come out and strongly condemned the blatant war on peace and stability, but Western governments, despite claiming to care so much about international law, are surprisingly unmoved, with some, like UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying he will shed no tears over the kidnapping of President Maduro. A Chinese delegation met with Maduro just hours before the president was abducted,
Another Anglo.
after he posted on social media praising the relationship between China and Venezuela. So what exactly is going on, and why are Western leaders so two-faced when it comes to the illegal actions of the Trump regime?
It's called white supremacist
Well, today we'll go
arrogance.
beyond the propaganda
why.
and check out all of the details. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham here in Shanghai.
They don't think they
Let's
need
get
to honor
with it.
deals with non-white people.
Early on the morning of January 3 local time, the Donald Trump regime undertook a large-scale military strike in Caracas, the capital city of Venezuela, causing multiple explosions and eventually kidnapping the country's president, Maduro, and his wife, before taking them to New York against their will. US President Donald Trump claims the pair and others are to be charged with narco-terrorism, cocaine importation conspiracy, and
Bullshit.
related crimes. The operation was
proof offered for
described
this
as
shit
a
either.
law enforcement supported
Of course it's a
action
lie.
against a narco state. But it's extremely clear to anyone with a functioning brain that oil is the motive, with Trump mentioning the resource multiple
Oil
times
and rare earth
during
minerals.
his Mar-a-Lago press conference. Basically, the US had imposed heavy sanctions and embargoes on Venezuelan oil in the hope that this would isolate Maduro internationally and domestically and put pressure on the country's government to force a change of leadership. That did not work,
Not
with
gonna work.
China and other global South countries ignoring US sanctions and continuing to buy Venezuelan oil,
Yep.
angering the Trump administration and
Gonna keep
rendering
doing it.
its sanctions as useless. The Trump regime upped the ante and last month began stealing Venezuelan oil being exported by directly seizing vessels as they left the region carrying oil worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Just before Maduro and his wife were kidnapped by US forces, a high-level Chinese delegation met with him in Caracas to talk about continued friendship and cooperation between the two countries. That delegation included Qiu Xiaoqi, China's special representative for
I gotta
Latin
go.
America and Caribbean affairs, and special envoy to President Xi Jinping. President Maduro described the meeting as a fraternal meeting that reaffirms the strong bonds of brotherhood and friendship between China and Venezuela through thick and thin.
Yep.
And that was evidenced by China's purchase of Venezuelan oil last year, despite US sanctions. As one example, in November of 2025, China purchased a massive 80% of all of Venezuela's oil exports, which showed the US that their unilateral sanctions, embargoes, and bullying are basically useless. And that is why they decided to lash out, invading a sovereign nation in a blatant violation of international law and kidnapping its president, his wife, and others.
And they got his wife.
China,
too.
of course, came out and strongly condemned the US for their actions, saying, "Such hegemonic acts of the US seriously violate international law and Venezuela's sovereignty and threaten peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean region. China firmly opposes it." But Western leaders who pretend to care about international law and sovereignty have been rather quiet. And those who have spoken, like UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, have shown just how little regard they have for the values they pretend to care so much about. Starmer wrote on X, "The UK has long supported a transition of power in Venezuela. We regarded Maduro as an illegitimate president and we shed no tears about the end of his regime. I reiterated my support for international law this morning." Wow, how contradictory can one message be? He literally admits there that his country has long wanted regime change in Venezuela, simply because he doesn't like the person who was elected there. He then goes on to say that he supports international law after saying he will shed no tears about the leader of a sovereign country being kidnapped by the United States of America. Absolutely shocking. Well, let's look at international law, shall we, Mr. Prime Minister?
White supremacist Anglo.
UN Charter Article 2.4 prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Now, Trump's unilateral airstrikes and forcible entry into Venezuelan territory to capture a sitting head of state are a direct use of force without Venezuela's consent. On top of that, customary international law and UN Charter principles bar interference in another state's internal matters. Capturing and removing a head of state, plus statements about the US temporarily running the country, clearly show unlawful intervention.
They're not running it.
Also, under customary international law, sitting heads of state enjoy immunity from foreign jurisdiction in criminal matters, unless exceptions like International Criminal Court warrants apply. Maduro, as sitting president, has no ICC warrants. And that is just a few examples. Typical reaction or non-reaction from the West, who just love the old adage, rules for thee, but not for me. So what we're seeing here, as I've described on this channel many times before, is the desperate last throes of a falling empire. The United States and the West in general are slowly realizing that the power they enjoyed over the rest of the world for much of the past 70 or 80 years no longer exists. So instead of just imposing unfair unilateral punishments on countries they don't like, such as tariffs and sanctions, the US is now blatantly invading nations and kidnapping leaders that don't do exactly as arrested. Now, I'll be keeping an eye on this situation, but expect more like it as the flame of US hegemony is slowly snuffed out. And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Will any Western leader offer any kind of meaningful resistance to Trump's blatantly illegal actions? And will China do more to support Maduro? Do let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
There we go. All right, Yep. This isn't gonna work for the long term. The U.S. is pretty stupid. I don't know what they're thinking. Like, kidnapping Maduro is not gonna get you Venezuela. Venezuela is still controlled by the Venezuelans. You're just looking stupid. And if you want to actually have a fight with Venezuela, it's gonna be not in their favor. Like, it's not gonna be in the U.S.'s favor. Like I said, Venezuela is much bigger than Vietnam. They might be bigger than Yemen. No, I don't know. But yeah, they got beat by Yemen just last year. The U.S. They had to pull back from their efforts over there. I don't know what they think they're doing. They're doing, trying to fuck with Venezuela. That's why I don't think this is like a serious. I don't think they really think they can win a war there. They're just trying to do psychological operations by kidnapping Maduro. Well, that'll make them topple. Then we got them. Nah, that won't work. They hope it'll do something, but it won't work. Their last recourse is to straight up fight Venezuelans otherwise, or they think they're gonna run Venezuela. Like they tried this already with like the Juan Guaido motherfucker. They didn't dare fight a war though to keep that motherfucker in because they would have lose. The U.S. knows they would lose. They actually tried to fight Venezuela. Okay, I'll play something else.
Back, we are joined by Professor Jeffrey Sachs to discuss the U.S.
This isn't going to be a long stream. I'm probably going to end it after this because I do got to go somewhere. I just wanted to have a little short stream. I haven't done one in a few days, and I wanted to talk about current things going on. But you got these straight up, you know, I see people getting offended at me, like calling out these fucking white Nazis, and I'm like, nah, man. I don't know how you can get offended at me calling out your fucking white supremacists. Like, look what the fuck they're doing. How am I wrong? Right? These white supremacists have the audacity to go up into another country, a brown country, and kidnap the fucking president. Democratically elected, by the way. He's popular there. This Maria Makano bitch is not. They try to put her up in there. She's not popular there. No one fucking likes her. I don't even think anyone likes her in the triple digits. I don't even think she has triple digit fans. It's like 2 digits at best, if any. And half of them are plants anyway, so like they only like her because she serves Western Empire. Like it's a straight up white supremacy going on. That's straight up what it is. So yeah, I don't. Why are you gonna get offended at me calling it the white supremacy? That's straight up what it is. And then I point out this motherfucker bombed Nigeria, northern Nigeria, on fucking Christmas. And that was directly an attempt to attack Burkina Faso. Because, like, northern Nigeria, I'm pretty sure. Let me check this right quick. I gotta be sure. Yeah. In northern Nigeria is practically borders Burkina Faso. So, but yeah, these fucking white leaders think they have the audacity and authority to just go and bomb, just go blow up some black folks, some brown folks, or just kidnap their leaders. What else can I call it at that point? What else can I fucking call it? You don't see any of the vice versa. You ain't never seen no brown country or black country go and fucking bomb the shit out of any white countries or kidnap their leader. I ain't never seen that shit. There's a false equivalency going on here if you think that's like it's racist to say that. Like, this motherfucker was trying to accuse people who pointed that out as racist. I'm like, motherfucker, no. Calling out Nazis is not racist. This is that double think bullshit I'm talking about that needs to be stopped. It needs to be paused and it needs to be like stomped out as immediately when it comes up. People need to be calling that shit up and like tar and feathering these motherfuckers who make this accusation. Like it's or try to shame you for doing that. You know, shaming white supremacists is good. You don't shame the people who do it. Calling them out is good. Calling out white supremacists is good. Calling out colonialism is good. Northern Nigeria is not northwest of Nigeria is almost touching Burkina Faso. So that was a direct attack against them. It was trying to send a message to Burkina Faso. And Benin, they're also doing operations in Benin. But yeah, it was a message to both of them. But the U.S. is trying to attack the Sahel states, who are like pushing for independence, African independence from the West. They're also they're also trying to get into BRICS as well, because it'll be better for them than IMF debt slavery, basically, that the West typically wants to saddle these countries with. So yeah, Ghana is also bordered Burkina Faso. This is why I've been wanting to go to Ghana as well. Ghana's already pretty good, but yeah, there needs to be more overlap with them in Burkina Faso. They'll be even better. Like, if I want to go to Burkina Faso, it's right there. But Ghana's already looking good, but they'll be better with Burkina Faso. And Ivory Coast, I've been wanting to go there for years, but they seem to have some Western influence. But I don't know. Being bordered with Burkina Faso will result in good things. Mali's is a partner of Burkina Faso. Niger is a partner with Burkina Faso. I'm liking both of these countries. I want to go to all of these, but there's some military operations the U.S. is trying to pull off there. Just gotta be careful when I go. I'd rather risk going there though than fucking Mexico right now at the very least. With what the U.S. is doing directly right now. Sudan is far away from these countries, so it's far away from Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. So, but there needs to be like something done with Sudan. I'm not gonna be going there for a while. They causing too much bullshit over there. I saw they literally gassing black folks over there, man. They straight up show it. There's no hyperbole, man. They doing some literal Holocaust shit over there. It's fucked up. So yeah, when I call out our fucking Nazis, our white supremacists, yeah, I got receipts for why I'm calling them that. Like, we gotta tiptoe around these fucking Nazi maggots for so long, man. Like, why? Like, we have nothing but proof on our side. I call it how I see it. Okay, well now I'm gonna play this video.
Attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of its president. Welcome back. We are joined by Professor Jeffrey Sachs to discuss the U.S. attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of its president, Maduro. So thank you very much for coming back on the program.
Of course.
Yeah, so
dramatic events.
Yeah, it's quite dramatic, and this, of course, was an actual unprovoked attack, an illegal attack as well. But the capture or arrest, as the media sometimes refer to it, as the president of Venezuela has been also quite dramatic. How are you assessing the situation, and what are the objectives of the United States here?
Well, clearly this is a blatantly illegal act, but it's one in a long line of blatantly illegal American actions.
Yeah.
And just in the recent days, Trump has been threatening a new country every day. He bombed Nigeria last week.
Oh, I just brought that up.
He said that the U.S. would intervene in Iran if the government acts against the protesters in a way that Trump doesn't like. He has invaded Venezuela.
I gotta pause on the protester shit. There's no real protesters in Iran. There's some false flag framing going on, and it's just reports that are not verified. Oh, we got reports of these protests. Okay, where's the actual proof of them? And then they'll even like use footage that's like a year old from something else that's not even about what they're claiming it is. It's like, nah, you're not proving this is even happening. This protest, much less that they're anti-Iran protests. There's no proof of this. They're trying to do this to justify attacking Iran, which will, they will fight Israel if they try to pop off on Iran. Iran is not going to let them just attack them and do nothing. It's Israel that wants to attack Iran, and they need some fake bullshit reason to fight them and to justify it. And they want to try to convince the citizens of Iran, yeah, do regime change in your country, because you're, all right, your leaders aren't serving you, all right. Look how they're cracking down on your protesters. Like, nobody in Iran would really believe this, but they're hoping to get the dumbest people who would, because not everybody's like informed. And even in their own country, like, look at our country. There's so many people believing straight up Hollywood fiction about their own, even in their own city. Like, there's people who don't know shit about their own city. They'll believe any lies about it that's reported on the news. That's just how it is. But not everybody's going to fall for it, of course. But it does happen. They're hoping to get those people. The whales, basically. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Wait a minute, what is this? Play some Jeffrey. Okay.
Recently, he created a special envoy for Greenland, declaring that Greenland will be ours. So it's a threat against Europe, which, of course, Europe doesn't even acknowledge or recognize because it's so passive relative to the United States. We are not in a constitutional order in the United States. We are in an order led by a military state. We do not obey the U.S. Constitution. Everything is by executive decree. When a congressman dared to mention the U.S. Constitution.
I mean, not that the U.S. Constitution is something so great anyway, but it was never meant to serve the people. But yeah, even under the illusion of the the Constitution, we don't even follow that. We don't even follow the illusion of the Constitution. Is a point that you can make, and I think it's what he's trying to say.
Today, Trump said, what is he whining about? This is ridiculous. Well, this is really, at least what Trump has done is expose the fact that we're at the end of constitutional rule in the United States. What happens when there's a thuggish rule remains to be seen. But in my view, this makes the world extraordinarily dangerous. Of course, we're hardly at the end of the story about Venezuela itself. They have arrested a president, but this is not the end of anything. The whole history of U.S. regime change
not the end of Venezuela.
Operations, which number probably around 100 such operations since the end of World War II, is a record of bloodshed, violence, deliberate creation of instability, coups, assassinations, civil war. So we don't know what will come next, but we know that there's been thuggery. It's also interesting, though it's maybe I don't have a definitive count of it, but I've not noticed any of the mainstream media in the United States even raising a question about this. The New York Times, the so-called paper of record, did not one time in recent weeks say, oh, it wouldn't be a good idea to brazenly attack that country.
Of course not. It's corporate
the
news.
editorial board was completely silent. As far as I can see, it remains silent.
They never go against
our
it.
Congress is moribund.
They always
it doesn't
validate their
exist,
narratives too.
in fact, in any operational sense. So I find all of this very dramatic and extremely worrisome. Though I hasten to repeat, we're not at the end of the story by any means of what will transpire in Venezuela itself. There is a government in place, there is a military, there is a mobilized part of society, there's lots of guns around. This is not a simple, smooth takeover by the United States as much as Donald Trump might believe so.
They didn't even take it over yet.
Long list of
they just kidnapped
all of
Maduro.
the threats being made over the past few weeks is quite extraordinary. And we see Trump getting increasingly unhinged, not just at our domestic, but also at the international level. But the Europeans, though, have the leaders, of Europe, have predictably
Keir Starmer's an idiot.
showed their obedience
Emmanuel
and
Macron's
offered
an
their
idiot.
support, making
Ursula
it clear
von
they
der Leyen
consider
is an
Maduro
idiot.
illegitimate and seeking
Poland is really
essentially
stupid.
to back the American position
Like
on
Poland
this.
is really fulfilling all those stereotypes.
But what does this
man?
mean for
They
Latin
shouldn't be.
America? Because in the U.S. national security strategy, it outlined clearly that this was, well, more or less America's
Looking like
backyard
dumb
now,
Nazis
and
is what they're looking
it
like.
wanted other great powers out, and the U.S. should reign supreme. Is this something, a warning for what's to come in other places in Latin America as well?
Well, first, let me say a word about Europe. It's a very sad day for your country, Glenn. I think we can
Where's he from?
rename the Nobel Peace Prize as the Nobel War Prize.
It was
It
never.
was given to
It was never
a
legitimate.
person this year who
Nobel Peace
called
Prize has always
for
been
exactly
funny.
what has happened today, who called for a military strike by the United States on Venezuela. It came to pass. This is
Marina
a tragedy
Cotto.
for
Marina
countries,
Mercado.
governments, and institutions that
Corina
once upon a
Mercado.
time talked about international law. The European response has been pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Of course, everyone,
They're
every
complicit.
leader in
They're
Europe
complicit.
seems to cower to the U.S., to be terrified. The strongest statements were, we hope that this will return to stability soon, not any kind of shock of a brazen attack against the international order, against the UN Charter, against peace itself. So this is the world that we're in right now. Europe varies between complete vassalage and acquiescence to the U.S. or its
But they're
own
white.
warmongering
It's
when
really
it
just
comes
white.
to Russia.
It's really just white allegiance. They're not scared of the U.S. They just have white allegiance. That's why they support them. They don't want them Chinamen or them brown and black folks taking autonomy of their own land and becoming the dominant economy and in the world over the white people. That's why they have this unity. They feel they need to support the U.S. the strongest white establishment country, basically, compared to them right now. They need to support them to uphold their white status. That's really what it is. Like, they could totally just side with Russia or China and BRICS and not listen to the U.S. at all if they were serious about just having peace. But they don't. That's not what they want. They want to maintain their white status. That is the literal reason why they side with the U.S. still, not out of fear, out of white obligation. That's what they feel.
Seems to be no diplomacy, no peace, and no attachment to multilateralism or to the UN Charter.
They hate the idea of
You don't see it
multipolarity
anywhere.
They hate the
When it
idea
comes
of
to Latin America,
communism.
of course, Trump has been openly
Like,
saying that the
communism
United
is
States
absolutely
rules the
opposed to
Western
white
Hemisphere.
supremacy.
It will dictate the terms.
Communism is opposed, like, materially and mechanically opposed to white supremacy. It doesn't work with that type of sort of order. You can't, like, if you have communism, it'll break up the whole white supremacy setup. It doesn't work. White supremacy depends on having a class system. It depends on concentrating wealth from certain undesirables. It depends on owning property over the masses, over the workers, the slaves, basically. So yes, it doesn't work if you promote communism. The white supremacy setup does not work if you want to do that. That's why they prefer capitalism. That's why they prefer even monarchism, you know, if not capitalism. They prefer feudalism. All of their states were all founded on, you know, either, like, you know, when they were starting out, they were founded on, you know, raiding people, like even their own neighbors, just raiding people. But then they got this whole white sort of fraternity going on after, in the late stages of colonialism. They decided to invent this whole white fraternity thing when there was no real, like, unilateral sort of white fraternity or brotherhood or anything. That wasn't a thing, really. The same with black folks. It's like that wasn't really a thing. But in the late stages of colonialism, in the prime of it, before it, you know, before it became more modernized. We still have colonialism, but I mean, like, you know, compared to, I'm comparing, like, you know, 1800s type of colonialism, or the cultivation of whiteness, really, during that time. When they invented whiteness, basically in those late stages of colonialism, they decided to group up. It took a while, but it solidified in the 20th century. The idea of whiteness. There were, you know, people who weren't originally considered white became honorary white, you know, like Italians. So you got pretty much most of Europe allying with each other now because of this creation. Even Italy, sadly. And this is why the EU is not divesting itself. No part of the EU really is divesting itself from the West, basically. They're not divesting themselves from the Anglo rulers, the Anglo colonials, the successor Anglo hegemony, which is the US. And UK is separate from the EU, so that's why I gotta distinguish it from the EU. It used to be part of the EU until Brexit.
He has said today, basically, I don't have the direct quotation because I'm halfway around the world, but I saw the Wire notice that Trump said, well, the oil is ours. This is a grab for Venezuelan oil. He said our companies will go back in and do business in Venezuela. It could not be crasser or cruder. And we've been there before in this kind of world. We have had a world of sheer imperialism that it was not in any way tempered or bound by international law, and it led to 2 world wars and unconscionable, unimaginable loss of life. So we've been in this kind of situation before. We've never been in this kind of lawlessness in the nuclear age, however.
Yeah, the nuclear age is a bit different, I guess.
This is just extraordinarily worrisome to have an unhinged, undisciplined, crude bully, absolutely lawless, absolutely disrespectful of any norms as president of the United States, and to have no counterweight whatsoever.
I don't know why he's saying this, because it is normal for these white hegemonic countries to, like, you know, fuck with brown countries. Like, they've been fucking with Venezuela for a while. They've been sanctioning it, doing blockades. They tried the coup Venezuela just a few years ago when Maduro originally won his election. They tried to put, you know, do a silent coup with Juan Guaido, and that didn't go well. He was rejected because, you know, everybody knew he was a U.S. plant, and he didn't win the election, for one thing. But the U.S. tried to justify it by saying, "Oh, those election results are fake." The motherfucker, the Venezuelans know what the fuck is real elections. Why is a foreign state telling them that what their election results should and shouldn't be, and if they're fake or not? If anything, you want them to do fake elections to prop up the people you want in there, like Juan Guaido, who didn't fucking win. Even if you want to say the elections were rigged, where's the fucking proof that Juan Guaido is the winner? Where's that at? There was none.
In Europe.
Also, yeah. But yeah, Europe. I said, yeah, they started off as raiders, and then, you know, once the white fraternity, the white brotherhood came along in the late colonialism, then they started just, you know, raiding and raping and stealing and settling. Well, not settling, just, you know, occupying, I would say, some brown and black establishments and countries. So for them to now get away from that and to try and to do things like go along with multipolarity, which is predominantly brown and not white. It's mainly not non-white countries that are in support of BRICS. I don't think there's any real white country that's like trying to be part of BRICS or on board with BRICS. That should be very telling. All right, that should be very telling. That's not a coincidence. The whitest country that's part of BRICS is Russia, who the white West is not considered white. They consider them Asiatic and basically like Jews or something. They don't consider, no matter how pale they are, they don't consider them white in the West. That's how they can feel good about shitting on them. They especially don't consider them white because they fought Nazis, all right? Russia fought Nazis. So they stopped saying them as white at that point. Ever since they did that. So they're not considered European. And European in the modern day means white in the white hegemonic power structure. This is why the desire for Ukraine to become part of Europe was such a big deal. Because then that would accentuate our whiteness. If we become part of Europe, we become whiter, guys. At least that's what, you know, the Nazis in Ukraine were saying. The people who were in support of the Orange Revolution false flag shit. And then the Maidan Revolution years later. The Maidan coup is what it really should be called. That was just straight up right sector insurrection. That was a right sector insurrection. Like, they don't point that out today. The right sector is a Nazi group. They were in they were the actual snipers who were shooting at people, because all of the sniper shots came from the Maidan controlled area of a hotel. It was not controlled by the Yanukovych. It was not controlled by the Yanukovych security at all. The Maidan people had gained control of that area, that hotel. So it was Maidan goons who were firing shots. It was not Yanukovych security. They don't ever point this out in the West, though. They want you to just believe whatever they say about some other country. Because they don't think you're gonna like check any lies they say about another country. They want you to just go along with anything they say about any other country. Like, but our country lies about every country, and I swear to God, they lie about every fucking country. Every single one. I noticed the lies when I was in the military, man. They telling straight up lies about North Korea. None of the shit they were saying made any fucking sense. So I started questioning it. And it turned out it wasn't true. You go translate what Kim Jong-il or Un were saying. It's nothing to what our fucking military was saying. It's some made up bullshit. They were saying shit I agreed with. Oh, okay, well, yeah. Well, okay. Our leaders are the ones who are lying. They're the psychopaths. They killed like 20% of North Koreans, and I'm supposed to trust that the North Koreans are the bad guys? What the fuck? No, they were defending themselves. The North Koreans were doing self-defense. And then we broke up their country. There wouldn't be a North Korea if the U.S. didn't break up the fucking peninsula. In Japan, really. But they were working in tandem with the U.S. They were collabing. They don't like to point that out. But yeah, the West basically broke up that fucking country. It would have still been one Korea if not for the U.S. occupying the South. Yeah. Military taught me to distrust my own government even more. Especially when I went to anger management with like some higher ranked military personnel, and they were just spilling all the fucking tea, man. They're saying this is bullshit. We're just lying. Like this, they had anger management because they were mad at what their fucking military were doing. These were like higher ranked people. These are like top brass people, like spilling the beans. Like, yeah, our fucking military is full of shit. We probably shouldn't even be here, to be honest. We shouldn't be in this country. We're occupying their country. It's an illegal occupation, or it should be illegal. Now shut the fuck up, you fucking robot. Nobody wants your view bots. I'm straight up banning these. I'll do it later. I'll do it after the stream. I don't feel like going to Twitch right now to ban people. Claim all. I'm constantly getting rewards. I don't know what they're for though. I mean, some of them I do. I get outfits a lot of the time, but I need to go look at more of this shit. I got another battle pass? Damn. Okay, I'll take it then. Alright, let's listen to the rest of this and then I'm gonna go.
Europe, not a voice for decency or international law. And for the rest of the world, well, I suppose that Russia and China are watching. They have said this is
they're watching. They
obviously
responded.
a crass violation. They're not going to intervene in the Western Hemisphere. But what has happened is simply another step of completely dismantling.
Yeah, Russia will they'll send arms though. And China will help any other way. That's how the situation set up. Like China, they typically don't want to get on the radar for arming people. They'll do things that'll help militarily, but in a more subtle way. Russia will just straight up give them shit, like some arms, and China will do things that are more infrastructure based and helpful, more economically helpful.
Of the institutions and lessons that we once thought we had learned from World War I and World War II and had installed, however fragilely, in the United Nations system and in international law. It barely exists. The UN is in the same situation today as the League of Nations was in its defunct period in the late 1930s and early 1940s. It essentially is useless right now. And I'm sorry to say it because I've been working for and with the UN for 25 years, but the U.S. Has disowned it.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Is trying deliberately to destroy it.
Yeah.
And while one hoped that the rest of the world would rally to its defense, we see that Europe is silent. And our lights went out. I'm in the Himalayas right now, so.
Oh, the Himalayas! That's where I want to go.
But I don't see what is needed right now, which is the rest of the world rallying to the cause that this can't stand in this way. Maybe in the first hours one shouldn't expect this, and maybe more will come. But it's a very, very alarming period. The U.S. is deliberately out to rip up any semblance or shred of international law.
Yeah, they don't care.
I don't know how Europe will feel when the United
Soviet Union was
States
still
invades
around.
Greenland.
And they wanted to
but don't be surprised when it happens.
Trump has announced
it. He's announced it again and again. And it's very, very likely to happen. One day, Trump will say we have a national emergency, and Greenland will be occupied. And then probably Europe will say, oh, thank you, U.S. It could have been worse. This is how things are right now. Principles, who needs them?
Well, you mentioned Norwegians gave the Peace Prize to Machado, and I already see that Fox News has announced that she's the logical successor now after Maduro's fall. This is how they frame it. But of course, all of this is, this was to a large extent the purpose, I think, of giving the prize. That is to give the legitimacy for the invasion, given that she has been a supporter of it. But it also, of course, was complemented by other justifications. We heard about narco-terrorism. We're told that Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Russia, China, all of these actors are operating in Venezuela, whatever that might mean, which makes it also legitimate. And of course, Trump said that this is our oil, and we want it back.
No, it isn't.
So with all of this various different justifications, none of them are very convincing. And in terms of trying to put in Machado, though, as you suggested, it doesn't seem as if the game isn't over yet. The idea that they can just kidnap Maduro and then the Washington can elect the new leader, it doesn't seem to work this way. But do you see?
They keep trying.
How likely do you see the U.S. being able to essentially break the Venezuelan government now that the president has been taken?
Well, let me say a few things. First, all of the various explanations that have been given are blah, 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 meaning that they are whatever joke or improvisation the United States wants to use for the moment. The U.S. has been trying to overthrow the government of Venezuela for 23 years. They tried a coup against the predecessor of Maduro, Hugo Chavez. They have announced that the U.S. is the enemy, that Venezuela is the enemy of the United States, to put it more clearly, because this has been a left-wing regime that believes that Venezuela's resources belong to Venezuela, and that Venezuela does not have to follow
if you want them,
the
you need
U.S.
to pay for
dictates on who controls the oil and who receives the rents, and so on. And so this is a long story, and it's very important to understand. In 2017, in Trump's first year of office, he said to a dinner table of Latin American leaders, why don't I just invade Venezuela? Two of the leaders talked him down from that. I heard from two presidents that were there independently about this dinner. That idea of Trump of invading Venezuela is 8 years in the making. The lead cheerleader of invading Venezuela was Senator Marco Rubio, and now Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And there were celebrations in Florida today of Venezuelan expats and others celebrating the U.S. action.
Yeah, the traitors who got booted out of Venezuela for being traitors. Those guys, the guys who were working for the corporations when they were still there, and that Venezuela has, restricted more since they've left. Yeah, those guys, those Gustavos. I mean, not Gustavos. One second. But yeah, they some sellouts. They the sellouts, man. They the Uncle Toms. They were celebrating. That's why they even want to come up here and live in Florida. Like, I'd rather, like, if I'm a communist, I don't want to come to the U.S. Yeah. And if I'm going to leave Cuba, I'm going to go to, like, another more socialist country. I'm going to go to fucking Vietnam or something. Not coming to the U.S. Yeah. I'm going to go to Venezuela. I'm going to go to Bolivia. That's where I'd go. Trying to figure out where the hell I am. You like the view? So do I. 1 second. Alright. Alright, sorry. I don't know why it keeps getting foggy when I come over here. But my waypoint is not on my map. And my map's also gone. I don't know why it's gone. Where the fuck is my map? Oh, there it is, my mini map. So we need to go there. That's all I needed. And my waypoint on my main screen's there too. Good. Oh yeah, I meant Gusano. Not did I say Gustavo? Yeah, Gusanos. Yeah, those fucking sellout Gusanos in Florida will celebrate Venezuela having their leader kidnapped. I'm so sick of those motherfuckers, man. If I would go down to Florida and meet them, I would crash out. I have family in Florida too. So I will be going there eventually again. I already went there last year. But yeah, if I interact with one of those guys, I'm gonna fucking fold these motherfuckers. I can't believe you take it in the booty that hard, dude. You take it up the ass from that red, white, and blue dick. Who's fucking your own people. But they're not your people, are they? You don't see them as your people. He wants to be honorary white. These type of people. These Gusanos. Same with North Korean fake defectors. Like that bitch, what's her name? Yeonmi Park. She ain't no fucking... She didn't get no fucking freedom from North Korea. She's a liar. Her whole story doesn't even add up. She's just a fucking CIA op. She's probably from the NED program. Her face looks like straight up plastic. Every time you see her, she got the shiniest fucking face on the face of the earth, like she's made of fucking Barbie dolls or something. That same material the fucking Barbie has. He looks straight up like that fucking, that talking doll in the fucking Squid Games. Yeah, the Squid Games doll. That's what she looks like. Fucking fake bitch. She's such a of course a fucking North Korean defector is always a Nazi too. She's just a straight up Nazi. She talks about like white people have it so hard. Oh man, they so oppressed. White people so oppressed. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh man, the Nazis were so oppressed, guys. We were too hard on the Nazis. You guys were too hard. Those damn communists were too hard on the Nazis. Why didn't they let us kill Untermensch? Oh. But she doesn't have a German accent, but then she goes into one. She has a shitty North Korean fake accent, which I don't even believe it's real. But it might be. But she's a butt-kissing Uncle Tom anyway. She's some prostitute. She's some comfort woman to some Nazis. That's all she is. She has... She comes from a wealthy family, really. She doesn't even have to be a fucking prostitute. But she decides to be. But she just loves Nazi cock so hard. She loves it that much. She prostitutes herself for the love of the game. One second. We'll play more of the video.
What does this mean? This is partly U.S. politics because Florida is a swing state, but it means it's been a long-term project. Whatever is said is just blah, blah, blah. This is a concerted, long-term attempt to bring down the government of Venezuela. I think people would do well to understand how the U.S. foreign policy operates. It operates on a long-term basis and tells whatever lies or stories or narratives it wants to tell at any given moment to keep the long-term narrative.
The U.S. does what it wants unless that country has nukes. Then they back the fuck down because they don't want that smoke. Right? North Korea don't have to deal with this type of shit. They'll get the occasional sanctions and shit, yeah. But that's about it. They're not. You ain't seeing the U.S. like the U.S. has a fucking occupation in South Korea, but ain't none of them fucking soldiers going up into North Korea to invade and kidnap Kim. I tell you that, as someone who was stationed in South Korea. None of them there wants that smoke. They don't want to cause a nuclear incident. All right. So yeah, I would suggest going forward, a lot of these global South countries need to get armed up. Don't be letting them think you sweet out here, man. They want to fuck you up. They want to steal. They want to kill. They want to kidnap your leaders. Okay. They want to rape you. You need to get armed up if you want real defense. You got to be more like North Korea. And the BRICS, with the BRICS coming up, you know, you're not going to have as many sanctions coming up in the future. BRICS is dominating, okay? The old SWIFT system of the, you know, white Western colonials is going the way of the dodo, all right? It's only those white Western colonial countries who set up the SWIFT system to begin with who are not in BRICS or who are not on board with BRICS. You don't need them. Like, the globe is bigger than all of those countries. There's way more people in the world than all of those Western white wealthy countries. You don't have to depend on them. You don't have to listen to them or any of their systems. You can divest. Just get armed up and divest.
narrative. In the case of Ukraine, it was a 30-year project to bring Ukraine into the American military orbit. This goes back to the early 1990s. In the case of Venezuela, it's been a more than 20-year effort. In the case of Syria, where Bashar al-Assad was brought down last year, that was an effort of 13 years by the CIA and the U.S. deep state.
Certainly was.
These are projects. And trying to overthrow Venezuela, which just happens to have the world's largest reserves of oil in the whole world.
Just a coincidence,
larger than Saudi Arabia, though more expensive to produce because it's heavy oil, but still the world's largest reserves. Well, this is a project of the United States. Trump is unusually thuggish. The collapse of the American constitutional order is very far advanced. I would say, if you think about Roman history, going from the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire, which is usually dated to 27 BC, with Augustus becoming the princeps, I would say we're somewhere into the reign of Tiberius now. In other words, the U.S. stopped being a constitutional order 10, 20, 30 years ago. But we have the trappings of the Senate the same way that the Romans kept the trappings of the Senate. We don't have a constitutional order. We have a president enriching himself and his friends. Nobody says a word. We have a president that rules by executive decree. No one says a word. We have a president going to war against Iran or complicity in Gaza or attacking Venezuela.
Let's not get it twisted. It's the system itself. It's not just a leader. Trump is an actor. He's up there to do the acting. They're not taking orders from him. They're taking orders from the likes of, Halliburton, Raytheon, Chevron, Chase, Manhattan, That's where they're taking orders from. Like, Trump is taking orders from them. That's where that's who actually controls this fucking country. It's them. Trump is just the mouth. He does acting. That's what his job is. So it's not like Roman at all, But I hate the idea of even comparing our shit country to Rome. I mean, I guess you can compare the hegemony this country has, but it's like, by comparison to Rome, this country is very short-lived. This country is barely 200 years old. It didn't last very long, if we want to call this an empire. And it only, even in its first stages, it wasn't really a global power. It was a subsequent rogue of, the British Empire. And, that wasn't that long ago that it got independence from Britain. I wouldn't really compare this country to Rome. And the whole dominance that the U.S. got also was really in the mid 20th century, because it didn't even have the dominance it did until that point. Especially once the fall of the Soviet Union happened, then it really got dominance. But it's not really that comparable to Rome, I would say. It's like, at best, it's barely comparable to the Genghis Khan. I mean, I guess that would be a closer comparison, because the Genghis Khan regime didn't last that long either. That would be closer than the Roman analogy, though. Yeah, but this is just at the end of the day, the U.S. is just going to be a blip in history. Like, its power, anyway.
Or bombing Nigeria. Nobody says.
I'd rather the U.S. just go away as a whole establishment. Rename the country like the Soviet Union practically did. I mean, they didn't really rename it. They basically got a different flag, though, and it became a different establishment, and it didn't become like imperialist. I mean, they didn't maintain imperialist Russia as the moniker of the country or anything, and they didn't maintain the Tsar flag or anything.
a word. We're into a post-constitutional order in the United States. So this is really our situation. It's quite dramatic.
Holy shit.
The world should not sit
Where am
by
I?
if it takes any lessons from history. This is an extraordinarily dangerous period. The reason we created international law, the International Court of Justice, was not for the U.S. to sanction it and threaten it and bludgeon it. It was to avoid global annihilation in a third world war, but that one in the nuclear age. We're getting closer to that every moment when we rip up the UN Charter.
The UN was created because the Soviet Union existed. If the Soviet Union had been destroyed, like was the actual intention in World War II by the Western powers, the League of Nations, they were the subsequent League of Nations became the Western power hegemony, and the real ones running the UN. It was established by them. It wasn't established by the Soviet Union, but it was established as a show of diplomacy from the West. Yeah, we really do want diplomacy, Soviet Union. So that's why we made this very top-down controlled UN that we want to pretend is like everyone has a equal say in this organization. Even though we appointed a fucking Nazi to have even a voice over here later on. A war criminal, a literal war criminal, who's a genocidal Nazi. We let them have authority in this fucking setup. That was the only reason it was created, though, for the Soviet Union. To give a show to the Soviet Union. And to make them, look like they'd be violating the global order if they oppose any decision the UN made, like the people with actual power in it. Like that guy who was from the Soviet Union would say "niet" to damn near all the fucking policies that the West wanted to do, but it made no difference. The fascist capitalist West did whatever it wanted. It was, and Europe went along with it to make it look like, yeah, this is just. But then once the Soviet Union went away, there's no need to keep on airs the illusion of the UN anymore. Even respecting their partners in Europe, it's like no point to. Okay, we have some European countries that might disagree with some of the policies we're pushing for, but we don't need to pretend that we give a fuck anymore. We don't have to comply like we used to back when the Soviet Union was around. We're going to just say, we don't care. We're going to do what we want. We're going to invade Iraq, okay? The UN, they voted in a disagreement on the invasion of Iraq, but the U.S. still did it. They didn't stop them. UN didn't stop them because the UN is actually controlled by the U.S. They are the actual authority. They set it up with their Anglo brothers just as a show for the Soviet Union, which no longer existed at that time. There's no reason to, adhere to anything, any opposition or any protest in the UN. That was an instrument of soft power that no longer served its purpose. So yeah, of course they're not listening to the UN. They didn't. I mean, where were you during 9/11, Jeffrey Sack? I know you remember that. They didn't listen to any protests from the UN during that. They haven't listened to UN basically agreeing that Israel is committing a genocide in Palestine. I mean, we've already well past realizing that the UN does not serve. I mean, the U.S. does not care about the UN or serve the UN. All right. It was always a soft power when the Soviet Union was around. That's it. But anyway.
When they gave the Peace Prize to Machado, it made some sense because for the past 30 years we've been saying that peace depends on democracy, and democracy is delivered by military force. So essentially war is peace. This is kind of the logic for the past 30 years. But you see now in the media some repetition of this. That is, all the media outlets, they don't discuss the legality of what the United States has done, but they refer to Maduro as a dictator and suggesting, well, now there might be freedom. So they do what they can to make this seem legitimate. And of course, the EU frames this as standing with the Venezuelan people against their president. But as you said before, Trump has also threatened now to help the people of Iran if they are, if the protesters are, shot or arrested by their government. So, while legitimizing it might work across the Western world, the world is looking very different now. I'm not saying that countries like China or Russia would go to war with the United States. I don't think under any circumstances they're considering anything of the sort. But what are the wider ramifications here now? Because if you're sitting in Iran and other countries, you must be aware that all rule of law is now essentially gone. And it does feel the US has gone rogue. Again, when we started speaking, it went through a very solid list of only the things the Trump administration has done over the past few weeks. So what do you think are the wider ramifications beyond, of course, the sufferings in Venezuela?
Well, the first thing I would say, by the way, is that the idea that democracy is peace is a fairy tale that was disproved 2,300 years ago and countless times since then. Athens was the democracy of its day, and it was utterly imperialistic, making war, destroying other city-states. It finally ended up, in a way, committing its own suicide by an extravagant adventure to conquer Syracusa, a city-state in Sicily, which then, when it failed, left it exposed to a final defeat by Sparta in 404 BC. In the 19th century, the great democracy was Britain, certainly the most violent country of the 19th century, the country that attacked just about everybody in the world. And in the 20th century, the United States, especially in the second half of the 20th century, when the U.S. became the global hegemon, or the would-be global hegemon replacing Britain, the United States has certainly been the most violent country in the world. 100 regime change operations or so, wars of choice, perpetual war, all on whatever narrative, whatever lies, whatever story the United States wanted. And for many reasons, whether it was resources or simple conquest or ideological campaigns, but it's been war. So the idea that democracy is peace is an Orwellian idea. Democracy by these leading hegemons, whether it's Athens or Britain or the United States, has meant war almost non-stop. Now, Iran is a project like Venezuela is a project, like Syria is a project. The United States has been intervening in Iran since 1953, when it toppled the first, when it toppled a democratic government of Mossadegh, which had the audacity to think that the oil under Iranian ground was actually Iranian. And when Mossadegh declared that Iranian oil was Iranian and would be controlled by Iran, MI6 and the CIA overthrew Mossadegh and installed a police state. When the police state fell in 1979, the United States armed Iraq to attack Iran, and hundreds of thousands of lives were lost. Since that time, the United States has tried to destroy Iran in multiple ways, economic sanctions repeatedly, of course. That's why there are protests, because the economy is in a collapse, but the U.S. is the agent of that sanctions regime. When Iran negotiated an arrangement to absolutely show that its nuclear program was curbed, Trump said no. We will crush the regime instead. This is all at the behest of the Zionist lobby in the United States and Israel in this case. So this is another project. They're probably chortling. Oh, look, we're very, very close right now. We should understand that the protests in Iran are part of the script. I'm not saying people aren't protesting. I'm saying the U.S. has gone out of its way to crush the Iranian economy and to crush the regime. And last week, Trump made all of this very, very clear. So we, I think, can expect Israeli bombing soon, or maybe U.S. and Israeli bombing soon, or some other CIA operation. God only knows. But I was saying that for the world, this is alarming. It's not something just to go along with. I don't think, even though, as I said, the UN really is defunct right now, it should not be allowed to die. It needs to be brought back to life. And while the U.S. will not do that, the rest of the world, maybe the rest of the world ex-Europe, so leave aside the Western Alliance, so-called, you have 85% of the world that really should not want this kind of thuggery. Of course, as an American, I don't want this kind of thuggery, but nobody asks the American people anything anymore. This is all a military state that we're in that is extra-constitutional.
Well, it seems that the success of the U.S. attack, though, on Venezuela will to a large extent depend on how quick they can do this. If they're able to topple the government and, you know, get this done by the end of the weekend, then it would be low-hanging fruit. Just, you know, we went in, we showed strength, and now we have all their oil. But if it drags on, it could be deeply problematic. How do you see this affecting the base of Donald Trump? Because it appears that the America First people are already quite kind of split with the people essentially aligned with the ideas of Tucker Carlson see this as being a violation of Trump's mandate, what they voted for.
I think you're exactly right. What will determine the verdict is what happens in the coming days and weeks and months. My guess on that, and I will underscore guess, is that nothing will go smoothly. We have a long history of regime change operations.
The U.S. will fuck up.
Sometimes they succeed. This one has not even succeeded yet.
Yeah.
This has been a decapitation of a president and his wife, not of the regime.
Yeah,
and
the
it's
vice
hard
president is in charge
actually
now.
to see how the regime is brought down.
Venezuela has not been taken over. So get that narrative out of anyone's mouth.
It's possible that something more happens. I'm sure there are plans and ideas, but the history of these operations is that they are followed by long periods of unrest, coups, instability, insurrections, civil war. And I think that this
Venezuela needs
to go
get some
what will happen
in
Venezuela
right now.
There's a very good book
that
everyone who wants to understand American foreign policy should read.
Stop fucking around.
Called Covert Regime Change by Lindsay O'Rourke.
They probably already do, and I don't know yet.
PhD
I don't realize
student
that.
of John Mearsheimer, and wrote her dissertation on the 64 covert regime change operations that took place between 1947 and 1989.
I know they got some arms from Russia.
By the way, covert regime change is
a
little bit of an oxymoron. When the regime is changed, you know who did it. What covert means is the U.S. lies about it. So not that it's unknown who did it, but that the U.S. lies about it. So you could say 64 regime change operations in which the U.S. lied.
And
now,
had been behind.
She documents what happens. Many of them failed to achieve regime change. Maybe they assassinated a leader but didn't change the regime.
Yeah.
Many changed the regime, but of those that changed the regime, most descended into prolonged instability. There are very few cases where the U.S. political purpose was served by what happened. Even if you don't accept the U.S. political purpose as legitimate, just to ask the question, did the U.S. achieve its aims? The answer is very, very rarely. And I think in the case of Venezuela, it would be a real long shot that the U.S. achieves its aims.
Yeah.
And I don't accept the aims.
It's just the worst
even if one
Vietnam
accepted
waiting for them.
the aims of regime change, the idea that this will lead to a pro-U.S. democracy in which Chevron and ExxonMobil will thrive.
Yeah.
Well, that's Trump's aim, but I think it's unlikely to be realized.
They're not going to get in there.
I can't help but to think that part of the problem here is that the U.S. can't really compete with China anymore. And when the new U.S. national security strategy seeks essentially to restore this new imperialist version of the Monroe Doctrine, it's clearly aimed at China. They're concerned that China is the main trading partner of most, if not all, of Latin America. So how do you expect the reaction from different world leaders to be? I know that
I don't like anybody trying to shit on
Chinese
China.
and Russians especially have sent
They're
out
giving them options.
very strong condemnation. But do you see this moving in a dangerous direction?
Well, it certainly moves in a dangerous direction. Anytime there is a violent attack by the United States against another country, it can have many profound ricochet effects. So this is, of course, dangerous. I don't think that Russia or China, as you rightly said, will directly intervene or
they're not going
challenge
to directly, they'll send some help.
the United States on this militarily.
They'll send some supplies.
I think that they will
and some advice.
Strongly condemn this from the point of view of the UN Charter. If we see this followed up by violence inside Venezuela and an attack by Israel in Iran, well, then we're really heading towards
Iran's not defenseless. They'll defend themselves.
Complete.
That's not going to be like some easy pickings
and disaster.
They're going to fight.
Iran, of course, would be far more dangerous and destabilizing than this attack on Venezuela, which is bad enough. But if Israel now takes this, and I think they're very likely to, as the cue for an attack on Iran, I think we're heading towards all kinds of very, very dire and unpredictable consequences. Iran itself is no pushover, and Venezuela may prove to be no pushover, but Iran far stronger and able to inflict far more damage, and with friends that can inflict even far more damage. So it's extremely dangerous. This kind of thuggery is has a contagion effect. Complete lawlessness by the United States, the ripping up of the UN Charter by the United States does not lead to good results unless the rest of the world understands how dangerous this is. And we don't see that coalescing of the rest of the world, at least for the moment.
Yeah, I see that a prominent European leader just recently tweeted now that they're worried about the narrative because when Washington says that stolen oil must be returned, this is it's too similar to what Caracas is saying.
It's their oil. It's
more or less
Venezuela's.
What seems to bother the European leaders is that Trump isn't following the script.
This is the arrogance of white people.
Democracy, freedom.
This is the arrogance of white hegemony. They think every fucking resource on the planet belongs to them. It's ours because we said so. It's not in our fucking land. Land that we also stole, by the way. but it's ours. Okay, we see anything that benefits us is ours, not you, Venezuela. If it benefits you, then it's not yours. It's ours. Like, fuck off. I'm so tired of these goddamn Nazis, man. Need to hang them. Need to straight up hang them, neuter them, guillotine them, Mangione them. 1 second. I gotta mute right quick. It's like it's so hard to just not be a Nazi. Like, all you gotta do is not be a Nazi. All right, we could all just live in peace. All right, we could all prosper. Just don't be a fucking Nazi. Just stop being racist. Stop trying to uphold your white supremacist status. Just coexist. Learn to coexist. They can't do that though. Too fucking arrogant.
Master, what are these 8 talents you mentioned?
Just 8 fools. Ancient history now. These days, Manuan speak.
Alright. I cooled him off with my fan. I think I'm gonna end it. I gotta go. I mean, we listened to enough. Well, I already told the deal. I gave more info than Jeffrey Sachs, surprisingly. I thought he was gonna say something special, but nah. He says shit I already know and shit I don't really agree with. And I gave more details about what's going on. But whatever. I'm gonna end it. I might do a stream when I come home. I don't know. Maybe not. I probably won't. But if I do, expect it. I guess I will. Yeah. I was playing this one Chinese game, which I thought was a dating game, but it's not really a dating game. It's like a straight up fucking movie with supernatural shit going on. And you don't have options over who you can go on a date with. It's like it's following its own path. It's not so much a dating game, although there are romantic endings you can get. But it's like there's like a whole lore going on with and it has supernatural elements involved. It's pretty interesting. I like the actors in it. They're all very elegant and pretty. And I'm kind of intrigued on like, whoa, where is this going? What's the lore behind this guy, this deity? But I don't think I'll stream that. That's just a guilty pleasure game I'll just play myself. It's not. I don't think it's streamable. Like for me, like I don't know if I'd watch or restream of that because a lot of scenes, just linger a bit too much. There's some scenes that go on longer than they should, which is something I can tolerate, like in private watching, I guess, but not in like in a reaction type of way. Like if I wouldn't even watch a reaction to me playing that game. So I'll just play it in private. Yeah, it's amusing though. I got a bunch of these other weird games though that are dating games. I'll probably play them on, if not now, I'll probably play them on Valentine's season. That's coming up soon anyway. There's one I demoed. There's a bunch of demos of these, and it's pretty good. But I'll probably be playing Like a Dragon next time. I think that's the main game I'm gonna start playing, and I'll occasionally stream Where Winds Meet because I do like this game. But I'm not very focused when streaming it. So if I'm gonna stream it in the future, I'm gonna like have a plan. And I also need to upgrade a lot more than I have. Oh, I forgot. I was looking at something about Stranger Things earlier. Because I was watching a streamer, and they were talking about Stranger Things. And it seems everybody hates the ending. Did it just end? I thought it was over a while ago. It must have just ended. Because I'm hearing nothing but people talk about, like right now, about how bad the ending is. Like, I stopped watching that fuck shit show back in the 3rd season because it pissed me off, man. That 3rd season really pissed me off. So I haven't been keeping up for 2 years. Or not 2 years. The last 2 seasons at least. I think the show It's been more than 2 years since the third season for sure. um, yeah, I don't like that show, man. And I was already rubbed the wrong way when they had the black kid said Winston sucks because he's not a scientist, and I'm like, it pissed. Okay, why you had the black kid? Apparently, it was the black kid's idea to say that, which is already bad. Or the black kid's that colonized, I see, by his own fucking. Like the black boy's already gotten colonized before they even told him to say that shit. Apparently, if he came up with that quote himself, that's what the Duffer Brothers story is. Oh, he came up with that. Okay, sure, that's still not good. Got him not even liking his own black figures in any media material. And the sad thing about Winston and Ghostbusters, because he said that about Winston from Ghostbusters because they were all dressed up as Ghostbusters on that second season opener. It was Halloween, and they all decided to dress up as Ghostbusters since that was the new movie of that year during that season. But yeah, they suggested you should be Winston because you're black. Now he should get. Now I understand if he would get mad about well, you said I should just be the black character because I'm black. But at the same time, the reason he gave was not because of that. It was because Winston's not a scientist. That's why I don't want to be him. Okay. This gets me into like discussions on like how the Winston character, like the concept of the Winston character when they were creating him, he was going to be a scientist. The only reason he wasn't a scientist was because they didn't want him to look as intelligent as the white characters in the movie. That's the real reason. They won't ever say that, but that's actually the real reason. They didn't want him being on par with the white scientists in the movie. He's just supposed to be some dumb schlub who's just doing that shit for the money. He's just average intelligence or below average intelligence guy doing shit for the money. At best, he had common sense, but not scientific expertise. But he was supposed to. That was like the character was planned to be another scientist that they brought on board later because they needed more scientific heads to figure out this ghost shit. They just ripped it out. Like, and the actor who played Winston, he talked about being disappointed with how they gutted his character. But he was going to be an intelligent scientist, but they just gutted it. And the excuse the director gave, we were going to do that, but then we wanted Bill Murray to have some more funny scenes and do more funny stuff. So we just, okay, that's not even a good excuse because you still could have had him be a scientist. What did removing him from being like an actual scientist, how did that stop Bill Murray from doing funny shit? It didn't. It was just some racist excuse. They just wanted an excuse to be racist. That's all it was. It was dumb. It's really sad because that kid apparently didn't know that Winston was supposed to be like an actual scientist. I don't know if he's learned since then that that's how that character was going to be. And then in the sequel movie they made, like, he apparently got his PhD in the newer movies that they made. I haven't seen them though. But yeah, that's good. Oh, they had one of the characters from Stranger Things on there. So he had to have seen that at least. The guy who plays Lucas on that Stranger Things show. One of the other characters who played, Finn Wolfhard, he was in that movie. So he would have known if one of his co-stars was in that Ghostbusters movie. That he has his, or two of them. They made 2 sequels. That he has his PhD now. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Now I'm rambling. Oh no, I wanted to say, that show sucks. Like, because people got outraged. I mean, Stranger Things sucks. People got outraged apparently about old dude coming out as homosexual, but I already knew he was gay from like practically the second season. No, the first season actually I started suspecting he might be, he likes dudes because his brother was having a conversation with him and was talking about, you don't have to like the things that dad says you have to like. And like, oh, that's clearly like some subtext, some gay subtext going on there, I suspect. Yeah, he doesn't like that his son's just not masculine enough, and probably doesn't like girls. That's what it was. And then he straight up asked if he liked girls in like the third season, and he's like, or he's just confronted about it from Mike, and he doesn't really give an answer. But Mike already suspected he was gay, so that's not surprising to me. They made him gay. I mean, I guess if it wasn't in good taste, that's one thing. When he came out, if they didn't do it right, but no, I thought that didn't make me dislike the show. And I heard people also didn't like because they didn't. A bunch of characters were wasted, and the climax was dumb. But other than that, yeah, that's what I was hearing about the most. But I gave up on that show in the third season because they did a bunch of anti-Soviet Union propaganda in the third season. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You have the black girl be anti-communist. That's very weird. I mean, it's what they want us black people to be, though. In the West, they want us to be anti-communist. Even though that's like that type of concept and material analysis is actually useful to us and beneficial to us. To have a black girl who's like not even old enough to understand communism in the first place be so against communism, and they represent her as being super intelligent for shitting on communism. Like, she was called smart because she shit on communism in that fucking season. I'm like, well, this is the biggest fucking disgrace. Like, this is a CIA hack job. Whoever wrote this, well, the Duffer Brothers did, obviously. But it just made me not like the Duffer Brothers anymore after that. And then I also didn't watch the fifth season because of, the not very veiled support of Israel coming from some of the cast members, like Noah, the kid who's supposed to have come out as gay. I think that's what people were really mad about, and then they tried to cover up why people didn't like Noah. It's always because he's gay. Well, you can't attack him or you're homophobic. No, people were attacking him because of his stance on Israel. And he was just he was doing a same-sides argument about Israel and Palestine. When it's Palestine who are the victims, they're not, like, you can't look at that live-streamed fucking genocide and act like there's some fucking equivalency going on here. Like, it's the same side sort of narrative going on. No. It's like, Palestine is clearly the victims. Like, go look at Israel. Is Israel bombed the hell out? No. So that's what I was also didn't want to watch the season because of that. Yeah, and they had that other guy who's like the paranoid conspiracy theorist actor on there. He apparently is pro-Israel as well. He was defending Israel. Like, yeah. Okay, well, it seems the cast is silently, they all support Israel. Some of them just haven't come out and talked about Israel, but it seems like that silence that they're also doing in the face of that, it means that the whole cast probably supports Israel. So I don't fuck with that show, especially after that. Fuck Stranger Things. I was already done with them after the anti-communist season 3. Like, fuck out of my face. But anyway, take care.